Salutations! Welcome to Pod Mortem. I'm Travis Hunter, joined as always by my co-host, my sister, and my brother-in-law.
Hi, I'm Reneé Hunter Vasquez.
Hi, I'm John Paul Vasquez.
This week, we're broadcasting live from the Avalon Motor Inn in Point Pleasant, West Virginia, discussing the 2002 supernatural horror film, The Mothman Prophecies. This film was directed by Mark Pellington from a screenplay by Richard Hatem based on the book of the same name by John A. Keel. The Mothman Prophecies combines elements of horror and mystery as it explores purportedly true events surrounding the town of Point Pleasant, West Virginia, and sightings of the titular cryptid, the Mothman. While this film is anchored by a fantastic lead cast and had a decent run at the box office, it did receive mixed reviews from critics upon its release. So, The Mothman Prophecies. What were your first impressions on the film?
I remember watching this movie and really liking it when I was young. I still like it, but doing it for the show, I was like, all right, well, I don't remember a lot of this, but I just watched it and I guess and grown. I can't even say grown up vibes because now I'm still, it's weird.
It is.
I like the movie.
Mm-hmm.
We'll just leave it at that.
Yeah.
I really like it too. I've always liked this movie, and I feel like it's weird that it's not talked about more.
Mm-hmm.
Especially with Laura Linney and Richard Gere and Will Patton. It's like, why nobody's like, where y'all at?
It is a great cast.
Yeah. But like you said, watching it for the show and really having to like, I don't know if it's attributed, like you said, to being a little bit older. I don't know, but I'm like, there's not enough Mothman here. Also, I mean, we can unpack it as we go on, but like the intentions are a little muddy for me. Like there are parts that are a little confusing and like not so cohesive, but like hearing that people didn't like it when it came out, I'm like, even with me side-eyeing a little bit of it, like I still like this a lot.
Oh, yeah.
I will revisit it for sure. Like it's just a good movie. And I mean the chapstick moment, I mean that's a watershed moment.
That is iconic. There are honestly some scenes in this film that I put up with like the alien walking by in signs.
Yes.
Like as formative for me.
Behind.
I remember we loved this film as a kid, as we were one kid. as
one child.
We eventually
the
split
operation.
off. It's fucking basket case all over again. No, but we enjoyed this film as kids, plural. I think the thing for me, and it's the greatest thing about it and the worst thing about it, I love the Mothman.
Yeah.
And so I don't know that they were ever going to satisfy my desire for more Mothman in this film, because it's literally called The Mothman Prophecies, but maybe 5 times we...
Yeah, I feel like that's my...
Was it even 5?
I think I'm rounding up to an odd number.
As one does.
Yes.
I feel like that's the thing, is that I know, and we're going to get to it, but the disaster that happens was real.
Yes.
Failing that aspect of it, I feel like we could have just invented a creature here.
Yeah.
What, that it could have been anything?
It could have been anything.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, we'll get into it as we go along, because I'm not trying to give anything away, but something really could have been made just for this movie, if not for the fact that historically the disaster in it is tied to Mothman.
Which I support Mothman and all his endeavors.
Of course.
Well, yeah.
I don't think he's to blame for this. and I do think it's a little cruel that history has been so, looked so poorly upon the poor Mothman. But I do want to say, because I forgot to tell you, but I did read the book.
Oh my God.
By John Keel.
Okay.
I put it on Audible double time. And so I was like having to really hunker down.
I don't know how you do that. That gives me anxiety. I'm like, what's wrong?
I had to take my inhaler after. No, it was, I mean, the thing is that they did the right thing in making this film, because the way that they did it is they really streamlined a lot of the things inside that book and formed, as much as they could, a cohesive narrative. I'm not saying it's completely cohesive.
Right.
But I am saying
compared to the book,
that book is a clusterfuck. Like, there is shit in there, and I don't mean to say shit because he spent a lot of time writing it.
Stuff.
There is stuff in there that literally he'll just go from case to case talking to people that have had a Mothman sighting.
Mm-hmm.
And then he'll talk about UFOs that he saw in Point Pleasant.
He's like, this place is fucked up.
Yeah. And there is stuff about the Men in Black and stuff like that. And
Damn, Will Smith was there?
yeah,
Yes. They always come around.
he's like, I make this look good. He's wearing a fucking Mothman costume. But it's very funny to me because in an interview with Entertainment Weekly, Pellington, after the fact, he said straight up, he's like, you know what? I think instead of saying this is based on a true story, we should have said it was inspired by.
Well, yeah, that's all I ever ask.
And yeah, because definitely that could be applicable here.
It was funny to me because John Keel, I read that Richard Gere's character, John Klein, was named after him.
Yes.
But also there's something of an expert later on in the film with the last name Leak, which is just Keel spelled backwards.
It's not the brainiest of decisions, but it's kind of the split of the same thing. Like John Keel is both these characters.
Right.
Now I'm prune.
As a kid, they enjoyed the Mothman. Now, before we cryptically warn this film, we would like to issue a warning for spoilers. Pod Mortem is a very in-depth podcast, and in thoroughly discussing horror films, we have no choice but to spoil a thing or two. If you don't wish to be spoiled, please go watch the film, then come back and enjoy the show. If you've already seen the film or don't care about spoilers, let's answer the phone. So the film opens with odd whispers and foreboding music. We then see on-screen text reading, "This story is based on events which occurred in Point Pleasant, West Virginia." You notice it does not give a date.
It doesn't.
It's very odd to me because the events that took place happened between 66 and December 67.
Right.
But this film is aggressively 2002.
I was going to say, but we need our flip phones.
Yes.
So,
But I guess, I don't know. I feel like for me, I do enjoy this film, but I think I would have liked it a lot more if it was a period piece.
All right. Like
I was going to say, but then,
66.
Yeah.
but then they couldn't be recording, but yeah, they could.
Yeah, they could.
Yeah.
It's not the Stone Age, Nay. But after the opening credits, we see a blurry overhead shot of a small town through the clouds, which gives way to a symmetrically mirrored image that appears to be the silhouette of a man against a white background. The man disappears as wing-like appendages form behind him before being thrown to each side of the screen, transitioning into fluorescent lights in an office ceiling, and we get the title, The Mothman Prophecies. Now, there are a lot of very odd transitions in this film.
There definitely are, and some of them are just funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, flat out.
Unnecessary. It feels very much like, let me show you everything I can do.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
a lot of Mothman vision.
Yes.
Like,
I don't know why we're stepping behind the eyes of the Mothman so often. Because what I take it from that is that we were just flying over Point Pleasant. We'll talk as far as that stuff. My theory, I should have probably watched some of his videos, but Pellington comes from a music video director background. And so that makes a lot of sense to me to have these weird vignettes because typically speaking,
right.
But to start your film, and here's the thing that's ridiculous is it's pretty cool.
No, it is. Especially in 2002.
Yeah.
Like, you're like, oh,
I remember
shit.
my 11-year-old mind was like blown.
Yeah. This is amazing.
But the music builds to overwhelming static, and we get a shot of John Klein, a Washington Post columnist played by Richard Gere, talking on a telephone. The static causes him to rip the phone away from his ear, and he's like, Jesus! But then he just gets back to the call because he's double-checking the spelling of a name for one of his stories, and we see him write the name Mary with a Y before getting off the phone.
Is there another way to spell Mary?
Like Mari? I don't know.
I thought
well, Mary, it is
strange.
It's Christmas season, so he's like, is this M-E-R-R-Y?
Because he's like, okay, it is a Y.
Yeah.
It's like, maybe I should stop assuming, but...
You know, whenever I was first starting out in college with writing my own news stories, if we spelled a source's name wrong...
They beat you.
Yeah, they brought out like a ruler and just beat the shit. No, they gave us a 0.
Oh, shit.
because they said you need to know your sources' names. And I mean, it's a good lesson.
Yeah.
So you're like with the Y.
But yeah, with a fucking Y, right?
Is that Mary with an M?
Yeah. I need to make sure of everything. But it makes me laugh that they put him to work at the Washington Post.
Right.
Because John Keel was freelance, and he also pitched stories to Playboy magazine. There's a lot of like conflicting things I read.
Yeah.
One of them said that he was on assignment from Playboy to go to Point Pleasant.
All right.
And one said that he pitched a bunch of stories to Playboy and they were like, no. So I don't know which one is true, but it's obviously smarter for this character to make him more structured.
Right.
And Richard Gere working for the Washington Post. I trust this guy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, it fits. I'm surprised they made it a real publication and not just like
Yeah.
That's weird too.
John Keel Press or something.
Keel Publishing.
Yeah.
It was surprising because they did the same thing on The Ring with the Seattle PI. I was like,
Yeah.
oh,
Oh,
you're just
yeah.
doing that.
Yeah.
Okay. But in a wide shot, we see the bustling office filled with people and we hear Christmas music playing in the background. John then places another call to his wife, Mary, played by Deborah Messing. So it's like, oh, that was interesting.
Yeah, I thought that was weird.
Yeah.
And when he writes it on the thing, it looks cryptic as fuck.
Yeah.
Like his writing is scary. I don't know. If
Well, the Y was scary.
it was very scary. It was.
The hesitant Y.
But we see her in the shower, missing the phone call, and John leaves a message telling her that it's after 6 p.m., so he'll just get a ride and meet her there. We don't know where yet. As he gets up to leave, his coworker, Ed Fleischman, played by David Eigenberg, asks him a question on style in word usage.
It's Steve Brady. You know, I from Sex and the City.
I don't know.
I will burst if I just don't say that he's Steve
I-
from Sex and the City.
I was waiting to see how long it was going to take.
That was as long as I could wait.
It's
Steve
Steve Brady.
just said his name. Yeah.
I do not know this.
Sorry.
But John both helps and corrects him before heading out. This is an old thing because it was word usage, whether to use comprised of or composed of. John's technically right, but I disagree. But as he leaves, we zoom into a television where a newsman discusses a recently evacuated area of the city that should be avoided while commuting. So kind of foreshadowing, kind of foreboding. Mm-hmm. We then get an odd sequence of shots as the opening credits continue. A collection of tangled wires, a park covered in snow, traffic lights and street lamps, Mary applying her lipstick in the bathroom, and the front of the Washington Post building. We cut to John checking in with Cyrus Bills, his editor played by Bob Tracy. Cy says they're going to lead with John's story, which is good news. But as John goes to dip out, Cy stops him, commenting that it's a bad look for his star reporter to skip the Christmas party. John says he can't because his wife is waiting for him, and he smiles very, playfully.
Yeah.
He does.
And then leaves.
He loves his wife.
I mean, I'm happy for him. He's a regular Rob Zombie.
I like I like that he's like my star report. It's like, okay,
Yeah, we get it.
Richard Gere is always that guy. Capital T, capital G.
Yeah.
Always.
The best.
Yeah. The star. He's not a reporter.
No.
He's the
Yeah.
star fucking reporter.
Fucking Ed's like, what was that?
Yeah.
First of all, I love that he has an actual excuse to cancel plans because it's way better than having to make one up.
Right.
I just make him up.
Yeah, I know, me too. But it's just funny to me that they're planting the seeds right now. They're like, no, this dude's life is great.
Yeah.
His wife loves him. It's fantastic. He's the best reporter.
He's the star,
Reporter. And I'm sure all of this will continue.
Right.
Uh-huh.
So I was like, well, you already told me this is Mothman,
Yes.
but this is a love story. I'm like, what's happening here right now?
And this is the thing is that Keel, again, creative license.
Right.
Because Keel was not married at all.
Yeah.
He's
All
like,
right.
look, everything was perfect. Right? I had a beautiful wife. I was a star reporter.
Star reporter, everything. But they take a lot of creative license. I'll try to keep up with it because there's a lot of things they change because the book is supposedly a true story.
Right.
And so in order to make it, I guess, more narratively pleasing, they're like, we're going to give him a wife and all this. But no offense to Keel's real life, but the changes work for me. But we get the shot of a clock sped up, almost as if time is running out. Interesting. But we see Mary getting ready, grabbing her car keys and leaving their home. The camera presses in through bare tree branches as Mary stands in the window of a vacant house as real estate agent, played by Tom Stoviak, tells her and John that they should make an offer. He's credited as real estate agent, but 2 seconds later, John calls him Brian. So I was like,
You don't even try.
why are we doing this? But he leaves to make a phone call and tells the Kleins to explore the house, which they do. Mary is giddy as they head upstairs into the master bedroom. They find their way into a closet, and after turning off the light, they begin to fool around very loudly.
Super loud. Like I was like, shh.
They're like giggling their way to the floor, but it's like, I was like, oh my God. And it's very, usually you do these things in secret.
Quietly.
One would hope. John's like, I don't care if he hears.
Wow, they really like the house.
Yeah, man. But the light suddenly comes back on, moths fluttering around the light bulb as the real estate agent opens the closet door.
I laughed because that moth flew up like it was disgusted by this.
It's like, oh, God. It's like I couldn't see before. It's gross.
Sitting here trying to eat this sweater.
You got to come in here and fuck my shit up. But the agent's like, oh, there you are. And Mary jokes that they were just checking the closet space. The agent seems cool with it, though, saying that the house is theirs if they want it.
He's like, just finish up. And
It's like, you've just bought I don't know if you know this, but you've just bought the house. But John does tell them that they'll take the house, and he closes the closet doors, and Mary is overjoyed. We then cut to the Kleins outside their new house, possibly after, finishing up what they started in the closet. Who knows?
The real estate agent's just sitting at the kitchen table.
Yeah, he's like, geez, I got a lot of paperwork.
Right.
I have a family too. But the camera cranes up as they embrace and uplifting music plays. The camera then glides above them on their car ride back to their old house, John riding passenger and Mary driving as she stops at a red light, saying that the house feels like a dream come true. They kiss as the light turns green, and John all but dares her to drive as fast as she can for some reason.
No, he literally does.
Yeah.
He's like, how fucking fast can you do it? Like, why?
He's riding a high, man.
I guess. He's like, we should get some fucking
but not.
crack after this. You ever wanted to try crack? I think tonight's the night. It's just very odd.
It was a little weird.
It's a very good evening, but this is really, and it's fucking winter in DC.
Yeah.
And
the roads are all wet.
Yeah. And icy.
Well, let's take this thing out.
Yeah.
Explore it.
But she does take the bait, and they speed down the road laughing, repeating to each other that they bought a house. I would also be losing my shit because we're millennials. We will never buy a house.
What is a house?
I don't even know what that means. But we then see two red lights, seeming to be the brake lights of a car ahead of them. But suddenly, a winged creature appears with a roar, flying straight at the windshield. Whether it was just a vision or the real deal, Mary swerves out of the way, skidding on the icy street and hitting her head on the window so hard it cracks it as the car screeches to a stop. John collects himself, frantically checking on an unconscious Mary before calling 911. That was a lot.
It was. Well, because they were just, drag racing or whatever. And then
they were going off to buy that crack. And, and now this. I thought it was bad enough because the vision itself is horrifying.
Right.
But then when she hits her head on that window.
And it cracks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know how hard you probably have to hit your head on a car window?
Oh, no, yeah.
Or, maybe her head's made of spark plugs. I don't know.
Who knows?
I don't know, man.
Well, when you see the bug headed right at you, you just gotta keep grinding. You know what I mean? You just gotta keep going.
If we stop for every bug.
Yeah, no. You made eye contact with it.
Yeah.
Feel bad and then just keep going.
I think what's so creepy to me is that it just happened so suddenly.
Yeah.
Her entire demeanor changes. It's not a matter of fear. It looks almost as if she's been taken over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we'll learn.
Mm-hmm.
We'll learn.
In the next scene, we find Mary in a hospital bed with John at her side. She wakes up, slowly opening her eyes, and John touches her head, asking if she's okay. She says she is, but then immediately jerks back in fear. She surveys the ceiling, glancing around before asking him, "You didn't see it, did you?" He has no idea what she's talking about, but she breaks into sobs, telling him that she thinks that there's something wrong with her. We cut to John watching somberly as Mary is placed in an MRI machine. In the imaging on the screen, we see a cloudy spot appear in her brain scan, taking the shape of a moth that grows, transitioning into the underlights of a bridge at the hospital where John stands at the window between two Christmas trees. So, again.
I will say I admired the framing of him between the Christmas trees. I thought it looked very nice.
It was fantastic.
So she's the Mothman now?
Yeah.
He's like, I'm in your brain. I think that, again, some of these transitions really do it for me. This one just seemed
It was
unnecessary.
weird.
They're like, and now we're the light. I'm like,
Yeah.
what? I'm just very confused as the thought process.
I want to know what music videos he made.
I think
Oh yeah.
he did a lot of shit. I think he worked with U2. I think he worked with
like P Diddy.
no. There are no
Was he in
cheese
the
graters
cheese
in this film. I want to say Pearl Jam,
Hey,
All right.
and then a couple years ago, Demi Lovato.
the fuck?
So he's all over the
Right,
place.
Yeah.
But I do want to say that the director of photography is Fred Murphy, who oddly worked on this, Freddy vs. Jason,
Oh, God.
and Secret Window.
Oh, all right.
I like Secret Window.
Yeah. And those films do not have any of this.
No, not at all.
But Dr. McElroy, played by Yvonne Erickson, approaches John, clearly the bearer of bad news, and they walk off together. Later in the hospital cafeteria, John tells Ed the diagnosis. It's a glioblastoma, an extremely rare brain tumor. Now, everyone in this film, including the doctor, says glioblastoma. Mm-hmm. That is not how that's pronounced. I don't know if she's a real doctor.
Just wandered in there.
Yeah. He's like, they diagnosed her with bad brain. So,
Devastating.
yeah, I think we might need a second opinion on that, though. But as it turns out, it has nothing to do with the accident. It's something she's had for a while, but just never knew. He said she's already undergone surgery, which didn't eradicate it completely, so they're going to continue chemotherapy for as long as they can, and John actually says that she's looking better. Ed clearly doesn't know what to say, but John gets a bit existential. He says they were literally house hunting 2 weeks ago, and it's as if the universe just pointed them out and said, oh wow, a happy couple. I've been looking for you. Now, that's very sad.
Super sad.
I genuinely believe that, by the way. Like, I try not to be too happy outwardly,
That's
just in case the universe is watching.
yeah, that's healthy.
Is that normal?
Super healthy.
I'm going through a lot. But later in Mary's hospital room, Mary apologizes to John, saying she feels like she ruined everything, but he assures her that she didn't. She says she wants him to be happy, smiling at him before closing her eyes and rolling over to get some rest. That night, John drives their car, stopping on the street of the crash. The car window is still shattered, and he gets out, walking down the street, reliving the whole incident. Mary's voice echoes, "You didn't see it, did you?" After looking at two red lights on top of plastic domes at the end of the street, he turns his attention to the front of the car, where he finds a gray substance almost burned into the fender in the shape of a V. He appears puzzled, and the camera dips down into a close-up of those two red lights. So, if you like two red lights, I got the film for you. Because
Yeah. I was going to say, too, his taillights in the background. I mean,
right.
it's everywhere.
Yeah.
It is. It's the thing is that in sightings of the Mothman, this was like one of the most prevalent things that people said they saw.
Yeah.
I loved the quote. We just watched that BuzzFeed Unsolved.
Yeah.
Red like you never saw red. I usually only think that about Argento's Suspiria, but
But it applies,
it applies
here
here too. Honestly, and this might be it'll be popular. I want to meet the Mothman.
I would love to meet the Mothman. Although
Not like this.
no. Yeah, let's make that very clear.
Yeah.
We were watching the BuzzFeed Unsolved before we recorded this, and they said that the Mothman is reported to be between 6 and 8 feet.
Mm-hmm.
And I got to say, I don't want my Mothman your height, D. I'm can we go 8 feet or bigger?
Look, if I can see eye to eye with the Mothman, I'm less interested in meeting this creature. I would much rather have to look up and be like, tell me your secrets. Eye to eye. Fuck
Yeah.
that.
I was like 6 feet.
He should be ashamed.
No, we don't height shame here.
we don't height shame here, but that is very
Two
short.
of us are quite short.
That's very short for a Mothman.
Yeah, I was like, that gave me pause.
Yeah. The Mothman, and you know what? I bet he's really 5'11".
You're round up.
To 5.
Yes. To 6.
To 6.
Hey, fucker.
The Mothman is Danny DeVito's height. But at their house that night, John receives a call, closing his eyes in disbelief at the voice on the other end. We see him running across the bridge of the hospital to meet up with Dr. McElroy, who just shakes her head solemnly, and we fade to black.
It was odd to me. And I know, I'm not saying in real life this would be unrealistic, but for a movie, for him to not be at the hospital was weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Because he had been there the whole time.
He's all driving around and shit and hanging out at his house. I just thought that was weird.
He's like, well, we never got that crack. No, but I mean, I understand his... You know what I think would be the thing to do is he waits at the hospital until everything's fine, and then he goes the investigative reporter route.
Yeah.
Trying to figure out what the fuck happened.
Right.
I'm still weirded out by the substance on the car.
Well,
Right.
I don't know if you've ever listened to a creepypasta episode on Last Podcast on the Left, but I have an idea of what that substance is.
Nay. First of all, it wasn't purple.
It was pink.
It was pink. Good Lord.
The Mothman gets himself into some sticky situations.
Oh, my God. I don't like to think of the Mothman that way. The Mothman is pure.
Not when Henry Zabrowski's telling the story.
Very true. So very hard to transition from his wife dying to fucking Mothman jizz. And then,
Sorry.
good Lord, we fade back in from that horrible scene. The camera pressing in behind John, who sits alone in that snowy park that we saw earlier. So already we're kind of getting these ideas of not necessarily premonitions, but scenes and places that don't matter in the moment but will become important later. And that comes up a lot because there's one shot that they really like to show later on just to keep your brain focused.
Now, don't forget.
Don't forget, this is going to be real. Is this going to be on the test?
This is the test.
But the camera stops for a moment as it's pressing in, and then it continues on until it's right behind John. He notices something behind him, almost like a sixth sense, but turns around to see nothing. He watches the traffic across the street as the camera rises above his head and the scene ends. At the hospital, John collects Mary's things, but is interrupted by an orderly played by Scott Nunnally. He just stands ominously in the doorway and says, "She knew." John's like, "I'm sorry, what?" The orderly says that she was drawing angels and motions to Mary's nightstand. There, John finds a book and leafs through it. Every single page is filled with rough, shaded drawings of winged men, but then they start to get a little dark.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Father Paul. How the fuck are those angels?
Like, I'm pretty sure that's an angel.
My angels need to be glittery and glowing, or else I'm not. That's not a fucking angel.
Well,
Bright gold halo or something.
You gotta, dress the part. I'm not gonna assume that that's an angel.
Well, didn't they say on Midnight Mass that when an angel appears, he's like, "Do not be afraid"?
yeah.
No, calm down.
Yeah.
I know I look.
I know I'm scary as fuck, but
Yeah. Well.
so it's kind of fitting the bill.
So did the Mothman kill his wife, or did the tumor take her?
My theory, which we'll kind of get to a little bit later, is this idea of predictions.
Okay.
And
prophecy.
Exactly.
Promise.
Almost like the
will.
title of the film. Yeah. So I think that it was something that led to another thing.
All right.
But through the drawings, it eventually builds to a drawing of a distorted, screaming face.
Angelic.
Yeah, quite. You can hear the choir and
Were those harps?
Oh, yeah.
Beautiful.
But also, who's giving her red paint?
I don't know. I was
Yeah,
thinking that too.
where'd
I
she
was
get
like,
it?
did she do that with charcoal?
Fucking smearing it with her thumb and shit. The orderly's like, yeah, whatever you need. But John continues on, eyeing a few more of the unsettling drawings before looking up to see that the orderly has disappeared from the doorway.
Real Mothman behavior.
Yeah. So are we to think that was the Mothman?
Yeah. Well, she passed away, so he hopped out of her brain.
Okay.
Yeah.
Put on some scrubs.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it checks out.
And waited in the
And
doorway,
waited in the door-
all shadowy.
Led him to the
She
drawings.
knew.
And then he's gone now.
I feel like I would complain to whoever his boss was. Because, like, that's not...
I think it was weird and creepy, but I think it was meant to be words of comfort.
It's not helpful.
It was a little weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a little weird.
And not once Not once did he say, "I'm sorry for your loss."
No.
Yeah.
He's like, listen, dude, this is some crazy
She
shit,
fucking
bro.
knew.
Yeah.
Like, I got a ton of
She
conspiracies in
was
my apartment.
freaking out.
Yeah, it was crazy. You should have been here.
Her eyes were
Yeah.
all white. It was crazy. Probably shouldn't have gone home, John.
Yeah,
That's weird.
But we then get text in the lower third reading 2 years later. The camera presses into a shop window filled with television screens. But on a few of the screens is John being interviewed as part of a panel discussion on a news program. He laments the partisan bullshit of Washington, but when asked a potential candidate for the Democrats in 2004, John singles out the governor of Virginia, Russ McCollum.
Royce McCutcheon.
Save some of that moon money for me.
It's a really deep cut
Really?
Simpsons joke, but I was thinking it every time I heard his name.
A lot of people aren't going to get that. The thing is that's very interesting is that IMDb identifies him as, and the credits identify him as Rob McCollum.
Huh.
So I'm like, what?
Leak.
Leak
McCullum.
I just don't understand. How do you get the name of your own character wrong? Or was Richard Gere just going into business for himself? He's like, no, Russ is great. We all agree Russ is great. But we transition through the television to a shot of John watching himself on TV in his office. John shuts off the TV and Ed walks in, alluding to the fact that he's trying to set John up with a woman named Gwen. John backs out, saying that he's got an early morning the next day to interview the governor. Ed's like, interesting, because McCollum's office moved that meeting to tomorrow night. Ed, kind of being a good friend, but kind of overstepping a lot.
Yeah, that was my I felt the same way. I was like,
Right.
I feel like he's trying, because it's been 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like he's trying to help out his friend,
Right.
which is fine and good. But like when your friend is reacting the way John's reacting, like maybe step back a little bit.
Intentions.
Yeah. But I feel like Steve,
Nay, his name is Ed.
Ed, I think he's a good guy.
Was he a good guy in Sex and the City, Nay?
Yes.
Okay. God damn it. This character's gonna be difficult.
I see what you're saying. You know, he was uncomfortable and he
Yeah.
was like, but 2 years doesn't really seem that long.
It really doesn't, especially for something like that.
Yeah, that like it just happened out of nowhere, and I don't know.
I feel like that's a really common trope, like in movies and TV, where someone will lose their spouse and like 5 minutes later their friends are like, fucking move on, man. But it's like, I feel like here it's done in a delicate way where I'm not saying that this is what this is, even though we both kind of know that I'm trying to set you up.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's trying to be a good friend.
And he says something very sweet. He says, look, Gwen is not Mary.
Yeah.
Not by a mile, and no one ever will be. So he, again, that's why I say he's got the good friend thing going on.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But he really is trying to push this thing.
He is, but
You just have leniency on him because of Sex
I
and the
like
City.
him.
Good Lord. John arrives home that night, quickly packing a bag before heading out and hitting the road.
Because wasn't he supposed to fly out?
He was, and then I think he was supposed to fly out that morning.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it just made me laugh that, I mean, these are the lengths that I will go to avoid an awkward get up. It's like,
Yeah.
no, I'm sorry, I have to drive 12 hours instead of taking a flight tomorrow. Sorry.
I will inconvenience the fuck out
Yeah.
of myself if it means canceling a plan. But he does call Ed and leave a message saying that he's sure Gwen is very nice, but he'll have to take a rain check. He's feeling a bit wired, possibly from that crack. And even though
Is this just a story of addiction?
maybe I've built in some stuff that is not real. But then again, so did John Keel. But
Oh, damn.
even though it's 1 a.m., he says he's going to head to Richmond tonight for his interview with the governor. We see his car pass under a road sign for Richmond, then get various shots of taillights appearing as bright red eyes. I told you it'd come up again.
So was this more moth vision?
I think it's to remind you that the moth is around.
Don't forget what this movie's
Yeah.
really about.
Yeah, I know that we only touch on him a handful of
Yeah.
times. But after what feels like forever on the road, we see the control panel in his car go haywire, lighting up and shutting off. He pulls over on a dark road, unable to get his car to start. He tries to dial out on his cell phone, but gets no service. Then he checks his Fossil watch. It was the style at the time. But the hands appear to have stopped. Now, electrical, no service, fine.
Right.
But the second I see that the watch on my wrist is also not working,
Right.
I'm pissing my shit.
Well, I feel like John Klein seems to be in an upper socioeconomic status.
You can tell by the fossil watch.
You can tell by the fossil watch. I don't feel like he's driving a car that's just gonna fucking crap out.
Right.
Like, he just takes it. I don't know. It's just odd. If it happened to my car, I'd be like, what the fuck? And I am not a rich ass fucking...
I am never going to financially recover from this.
No, I'm fucked.
But he's like, dang it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he does.
Like, oh, man.
I mean, I guess because he can't just buy a new one. I don't
that's
know.
true.
But I feel like it was a very under reaction to
yeah.
all the lights were on. I would freak the fuck out.
Well, they all started flickering. That's
that's horrifying.
Yeah.
But he gets out of the car, looking around and standing alone on the dark road. We get a weird shot of him looking at his shoes for some reason.
Uh-huh.
Okay, I was...
Correct.
I do not understand that, but we then hear some kind of wind-adjacent noise overhead.
Yeah.
I don't want to call it swooping or anything.
I would call it I think swooping's a good word for it.
Well, here's some swooping. Whatever it is, it's enough to get him to pick up the pace. He stumbles upon a house nearby, ringing the doorbell. Gordon Smallwood, played by Will Patton, answers the door. Will Patton, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, yeah. No, we always love to see Will Patton.
He quite possibly is the best audiobook person.
I was just about to say that every time I see him, I think of Dad because he's Dad's favorite for audiobooks. He's fantastic.
Yeah.
He even does the voices.
Oh,
He does do the voices.
Yeah, like he's great.
He's really,
great.
really good.
He can read anything. Put it in front of him, he'll read anything. But John explains that his car broke down and asks if he can use their phone. Apologizing for the late intrusion, he's very, very polite. Gordon looks back to his wife, Denise, played by Lucinda Ginny, saying, "It's him."
I'm sorry.
Yeah. I'm like, never mind, I'll try the next house.
Did you catch me on CNN?
Yeah. Oh, so you are. You do
Yeah,
watch.
you're a fan.
I'll give you an autograph if I can use your phone.
John Klein, Washington Post.
But he tells John that he's been waiting for him, grabbing John by the shirt, pressing a double-barrel shotgun under his chin, and telling Denise to close the door. So, up until I guess you could call it a kidnapping,
Yeah.
Right.
a hostage situation, this is based in fact with John Keel. On his way to Point Pleasant, his car broke down, and so he knocked on dozens of doors trying to find someone to...
Dozens?
Yeah. He said people wouldn't answer or their phone service was down.
They're like the Mothman.
Yeah, he's like, no, I'm not doing that.
Is John Keel about 6 feet? Because I wouldn't open the door either.
This is the weird thing.
Oh, God.
He mentioned in the book, because it was 1966, he said he had a beard, he had long hair, and apparently at the time in Point Pleasant, West Virginia, that's not the style.
Right.
And so he's also got a suit on, which again is not the style. Mm-hmm. And so the eerie thing is that the last house he went to, I guess this was 67, because 3 weeks later, the couple died. And we know why. We'll talk about it in a bit.
Right.
But because they had told their neighbors about a weird man who had visited them nights before this happened, the neighbors who didn't die kind of started an urban legend about John Keel.
That he murdered them?
No, that he was like Beelzebub that came to visit them and then they died later.
I mean, it's a cool story.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. I mean, just once I'd like to be called Beelzebub.
And you said you're gonna tell us how they died?
Yeah, you already know how they died.
Is it what happened in the movie?
Mm-hmm.
The fuck?
Yeah, so he is thinking of it as almost like Kismet, a matter of him being involved with this and then meeting these people and then this happens later and then... But the whole thing of the book is that it's almost like about the way we perceive things and how perception can be reality, but your perception is also a personal reality.
Right.
And so literally just a man's car broke down and he's like, "Can I use your phone?" But people are like, "The fucking devil."
Yeah.
You know?
Is the book called If I Did It?
No.
Okay.
But in the next scene, we find John standing inside of a shower being held at gunpoint by Gordon.
I appreciated the forethought to put him in the shower in case, things got a little blasty.
Right.
Like the cleanup would be easy.
Got a little blast. He's like, "Got a faucet right here."
Yeah.
It made me laugh, though, because we learn later that this bathroom's on the second floor. So we had to push him. He's like, "Up the stairs?" Jesus Christ. But Denise lets in Connie Mills, a police officer played by Laura Linney, and she kind of tries to figure out what's going on.
Laura fucking Linney.
Yeah.
A treasure.
Underrated.
Absolutely. I don't know if I've ever mentioned this before, but she and Richard Gere starred in a little film called Primal Fear.
Never heard of it.
It is available on HBO Max the last
It
time I
is.
checked. And if you haven't seen it, fucking watch it, because I can shut up about it during Emily Rose and I'm talking about it now. It's so good.
It's funny because I read in the production notes that she only accepted this part so she could get to work with Richard Gere again.
Aww.
Because they were great in Primal
I
Fear.
was going to
Yeah.
say they work really well together.
There are some actors that just have that chemistry.
Right.
You almost wish they were really a couple.
Like Adam Sandler and Drew Barrymore. I don't know if that's just me.
No, that's all right.
No.
I can get with
That's
that.
all right.
Yeah.
Patrick Wilson, Vera Farmiga.
That, yes. I'm like, just get married.
All right,
Just do it.
Can we just do the Warrens over with them?
Yeah, let's pretend the other ones never happened. The other cool thing about this is she met with Pellington to, I guess, kind of not even really audition for the part. Mm-hmm. It was more just like a meeting to see if, she was interested. And Pellington said that he hired her within 5 minutes of speaking to her.
Well, he sounds like a
Nice.
smart man.
Yes, indeed. But Connie tries to maintain calm in the room, asking Gordon to explain what's going on and lowering his gun for him. Gordon, not letting John out of his sight, says that this is the 3rd night in a row that John has been here. He's stalking them.
That would scare the shit out of me.
Yeah. I would probably feel the same way dude did.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know what I mean? You keep coming to my fucking house. So I can understand him being angry.
You absolutely can. And the thing for me is that it only gets scarier.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Because at this point, you're like, oh, well, he's been getting a visitor.
Yeah.
Somebody else. Like,
Yeah.
this is a coincidence.
Like, whatever. John tries to defend himself from the accusation, but Connie lets Gordon finish. Gordon says 2 nights ago at 2:30 in the morning, John banged on the door saying he wanted to use the phone. Something creeped him out about him, so he told him to hit the bricks. Then the night before, John returned. The scariest part is that he's positive it was John Klein. John just says, crazy. Gordon's like, I am not crazy.
Gordon does not like that.
No, he says, I was talking about the situation. Like, I am not. And he never did call him crazy,
No, he didn't.
in all fairness. But Gordon's like, you're lucky I'm a Christian because I had every right to shoot you on my porch. Connie corrects him, saying that he would have had to have been inside the house. And Gordon's like, what?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, shit.
oh, shit. I could have been in real trouble.
Yes. You need to cross.
Yes.
Glad I didn't shoot you there.
But he says that he knew, quote, the dumb fuck would come back tonight. And sure enough, here he is. John is incredibly confused and says something is very wrong here. He's never been here. He doesn't know these people. And so he hands over his wallet and ID. He says he's from Washington, D.C., and it checks out when they see he's a reporter for the Washington Post. They let him out of the shower, and the group heads downstairs. Because, again,
It's
he
dumb.
forced him upstairs.
So how would you feel then, knowing this dude couldn't have even been here the last 2 nights?
If I'm Gordon, I would hopefully, I would try to rationalize. I'd be like, well, I am very tired.
But you know he wasn't here.
That's true.
I mean, he's got.
I am very tired.
Yeah.
I mean, you
Well,
don't
it's
know.
2:30 in the morning.
Yeah. Well, you don't know, but I mean, he's got proof. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? So how do you?
to reconcile, I'd be like, well, dude, there's a motherfucker that looks
Yeah,
just
right.
Yeah.
like you. That'd be the only
Then
thing.
it was your brother.
Something.
Your
Yeah.
brother lives here.
You know what, Jim Klein? But Connie tells John to wait outside and has some words with Gordon. She says they'll look into John's story, but if anything like this happens again, he should call her and just forget the gun. Gordon tells her to just find out what John wants. So he's still not believing it.
Yeah.
Gordon stands at his door, staring at John, who waits outside.
Right. He seems friendly.
It made me laugh because, Connie just goes to talk to Denise, but they're just leaving John
Yeah.
and Gordon. Gordon could just start kicking his ass.
Because, yeah. This is what we call a meet cute.
Yeah. Is that what that is?
I didn't realize, but Denise tells Connie that she never saw John before tonight, but she can confirm the knocking. Connie says goodnight to the Smallwoods, and Connie offers to give John a ride into town. On the way, she tells him that he's a long way from Washington, D.C., and he says that he's just driving through. She responds that their town isn't on the way to anywhere. It's like, is this town an island? Or
Yeah.
everywhere.
I was thinking that too. I was like, what does that even mean?
Yeah.
It's on a peninsula.
Oh no, this is a dead end. But as they make it into town, Connie says that she recognizes him from his recent appearance on television. He seems surprised, but she's like, we're not all bumpkins.
Yeah. This is just the first time he's rude.
Oh, yeah. It only starts
He's
here.
like, you have a fucking TV?
Are you wearing shoes? I saw an interview with John Keel, and he was talking about coming into Point Pleasant for the first time.
Yeah.
He's like, I was an asshole.
He says it as like to the camera. He's like, yeah, and it's, they weren't all hillbillies. I was like, God
What?
damn.
No way.
I guess because they make shit up all the time. But after telling him that he's not under arrest, she tells him that she's never had trouble with the Smallwoods before, but that things have been kind of strange around here lately.
I was a little annoyed that you're a reporter and somebody I'm not a reporter, and I'm like, well, what the fuck do you like? What's strange? What
exactly.
do you mean?
You're trying.
Is
why?
somebody harassing people and going door to door? Do I look like that? Like, what do you mean strange? Like,
I think
he just sits there quietly.
I was confused. I spent time as a staff writer, and if somebody said that, there's like about 12 follow-up questions that
go
pop
on
into your head, but it's just like, can you get me to a room or something?
I'm tired.
I'm very tired.
Well, I mean, even after what we just witnessed, the dude saying you've been here the past 2 nights, you haven't.
Yes.
She's saying some strange shit's going on. Okay, let's share some information here.
Because obviously this follows into the strange shit.
Right.
Yeah.
So what else?
I came here to get directions on how to get away from here.
But in an odd transition of red light, Connie arrives at the Avalon Motor Inn, stopping in the parking lot. She asks what he's doing here, and he says he doesn't know. When he asks where he is, she points at a sign that reads, "Welcome to Point Pleasant." So this version of Point Pleasant in the movie is actually a town outside, I think it's called Kittening, outside Pennsylvania, or outside Pittsburgh.
All right.
And the majority of the locations in the film are in or around Pittsburgh, even the parts that double for Chicago later in the film.
What?
Well,
Yeah. And bits of Georgetown that we saw earlier. So
It
like
works.
everything.
Okay.
I believed everywhere.
Yeah.
it's a one-stop shop.
They did say that they did film a little bit in DC just for like some establishing shots, but in the production notes they said they brought in people from Point Pleasant to see the new Point Pleasant, and they were blown away.
Oh, well.
They said that it was their town.
Right.
That's so
They're
cool.
like, how the fuck did you move?
They're like, the Mothman picked up our town.
God damn it. I'm sure it's a credit to the production design. I don't know.
Yeah.
Because we saw on BuzzFeed Unsolved when they went to Point Pleasant, it looks like this town.
Oh,
Yeah.
no, yeah.
I would believe it. I didn't grow up there or nothing, but
Well, if you believe
yeah,
it.
a guy who's never once set foot. But inside the Motor Inn, he asked the hotel manager, played by Tom Tully, to point out where he is on a map. The manager says that they're on the state line, so he looks at the line between Virginia and West Virginia, but the manager corrects him with Ohio.
Wait, what?
Exactly.
Now, admittedly, I'm very bad with directions. But this doesn't seem right.
No.
Yeah, I would wonder how the fuck I ended up here.
How is it even possible?
Yeah.
That coupled with the fact that this dude is saying that right there, this map, I would believe something's wrong.
Weird
Something's
shit.
very wrong.
We do see it on the map, though, and Point Pleasant is right on the border. A strong what the fuck rests uncomfortably on John's face.
Yeah.
The next morning, though, he calls Ed, telling him that it's absolutely impossible to have ended up this far from D.C., but Ed, the good friend that he is, says that he'll interview the governor on John's behalf since he can't make it. John gets off the phone, and we see that he's at an auto shop. Otto, which, come on, man. The mechanic, played by Zachary Mott, tells him that
Auto car.
yeah. 2 R's. It's like, great to meet you. Make sure you spell that right.
Yes. Double check.
But he says that the car is running fine. 0 issues. And John asks what he owes him, and Otto's like, nothing. I can't find anything wrong with it.
The way that he looks at him.
Yeah. He looks him up and down.
Yes.
It's like, have you been talking to Gordon
I'm like,
Smallwood?
I know that's what I was thinking. Does he know? Or is he like, oh, your car broke down.
Yeah.
There's
Right.
nothing wrong with your car.
Or have you been talking to Sylvester Stallone?
Right. He's like, what the fuck?
Like, I heard some.
Is it in there right now?
But then John walks through town as pensive piano plays, and he sees the Smallwoods coming out of a paint shop. Instead of steering clear, he walks up to Gordon and apologizes for their misunderstanding. He's like, are you sure it was me? But Gordon's like, look, I talked to Connie, you check out and everything, so I'm willing to let it go. But he says he doesn't drink anymore, he's not a liar, and he's not crazy. Before things get a little heated, John cools it down. He steps up closer to him, way too close, if you ask me.
Yeah. he's a little, he's pretty close.
It's weird
Now
because
kiss.
it made me laugh because he's trying to cool down the situation, so he gets almost nose to nose with him,
Yeah.
which is what you do before a fight.
Yeah, doesn't that make everyone calm down?
Well, he didn't come off as threatening,
No.
but he was very close.
Yeah. I'd be like, we can have, and
Yeah,
especially
I
now
can hear you.
in COVID times, we'd be like, whoa, hey, whoa,
Yeah.
whoa, hey, whoa. But John says that he's just confused. Somehow, in 90 minutes, he traveled 400 miles and ended up outside their house without any memory of the drive. Gordon's like, and you call me crazy, and leaves.
Well, but nobody
Nobody
called you
ever
crazy.
called
you
That's what I'm
crazy.
saying.
Yeah.
He gets real. You don't fucking use that C word around Gordon. He
No.
does not appreciate
He's
it.
not telling him that. He's saying something's wrong with him.
Exactly.
He's like,
Yeah.
nobody's talking
It's
about
like,
you, dude.
thank you for the support.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
He's
so
like,
confused.
you're fucking crazy.
He's like, it was
Please.
weird shit. Hey, you're a nut job. You know what the fuck? Maybe you could explain it to me. But we then get a shot of the power plant at night belching smoke into the sky. So this location does come up a lot later in the film, the chemical plant. Mm-hmm. But from my research of the Mothman, I do know that this is one of his, I guess, theories of his origin, is that as a result of power plant waste,
Right.
birds in the area eventually mutated into what became the Mothman. And so I didn't know if that was a little nod to that.
That's a lot.
That's a lot. And that would take fucking forever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, yeah.
So,
all right. I did want to say, going back to John and Gordon,
mm-hmm.
I did appreciate John telling him I went, 400 and something miles in an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Instead of just,
Yeah,
are
yeah.
you sure it was me, or like being combative or something? Like, I appreciate him being like, no, something fucking weird is happening,
Right.
and I want answers, or I'm
Yeah.
trying to get answers.
I think, and again, he's finally starting to be a reporter.
Yeah.
But I think that that's the thing for me, is that even though he talked to Connie, Gordon, he's like, look, I'm willing to forget it.
Yeah.
Which is him saying, I know it was you.
Yes. But I can't. I have no support.
Exactly. So it's just, it's tough. But we cut to John's car speeding past a sign reading, leaving Point Pleasant. We see him park outside the Smallwoods house, which is probably a very dangerous place for him to be.
Yeah. Probably the last place he should be.
I don't know why. Why did he go back here again? What?
I understand why, but I don't understand why he had to park so close.
Yeah.
But he immediately gets a knock on his window, and it's Connie.
Sir, this does not look good.
No. She says that she was afraid she would see him here, and we then see them in her cruiser together in the next shot, watching the Smallwoods home from a distance, although he gave her no excuse for why he's there.
Yeah.
He's like, hey,
Yeah.
I'm Richard Gere.
It took. I feel like even if I'm Connie, I literally met this dude last night. I've known the Smallwoods for years.
Forever. Yeah.
So I would say, so this motherfucker pulled a fast one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He is that guy that's been showing up. You're under arrest. Throw
Yeah,
away the keys.
yeah,
She's like, let's see how this plays out.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he's sitting in the fucking front seat with her and everything.
Yeah. Like, not even in the back.
Yeah.
He's like, nope, you're going to see.
Let's
It's like, you're going to feel real stupid for handcuffing me. But no, she's like sharing her coffee with him.
Yeah.
Connie's like, I want to see some freaky shit.
It's like, there's some snacks in the glove. But the clock switches over to 2:35 a.m. and we see Gordon he's like walking outside very pissed off with his shotgun.
With his shotgun.
Which is against the rules.
Yeah, he had it ready.
But he was ready to shoot the doppelganger, I guess, and kind of pissed off that he didn't get to. But Connie's like, hey, you didn't show up. John jokingly says that he really wanted to know what he looked like. But this is when the follow-up questions begin, and he asks her finally about the strange things that have been happening recently. John says that if there's anyone in town sharing his level of confusion, he'd love to know about it. This is when Connie spills the tea. The past few months, people she knows and trusts have been telling her that they've been seeing things. She says it's hard to explain, so instead of telling him, she takes him to the file room at the police station.
Because we needed a research scene.
Yeah.
Exactly. And this is the first. It did make me laugh, though, because she just met this dude, but she's like, yeah, come look at the secret files.
I only explain this away because he is like
journalist?
Official
Yeah.
journalist, whatever.
And she's seen him on TV, so she knows.
So it's not, I mean, it is still kind of hilarious, but...
I think it's funny because literally it cuts and she's just dumping files on a desk.
Yeah.
So
all right.
There's everything.
I'd be like, so there's more?
Yeah.
Like, this is like, oh my God.
Yeah, that's terrifying. Also, the editing here, when they're looking at everything, is incredibly dramatic.
Oh, it is.
To the point where it was almost funny to me.
Personally, I want to say that I like the editing in this film, even though maybe I like it because it's ridiculous sometimes.
Yeah, it is. Not in like a bad way,
No.
but very much.
But they comb through incident reports and we see various close-up shots of the paperwork listing all kinds of incidents of people having seen the Mothman around Point Pleasant. In the shots, we see phrases like red eyes, very upset, feeling uneasy. After we see the fearful face of Lucy Griffin, played by Anne McDonough, we see the word moth-like. Now, I don't know why they showed her there, because we will be meeting her shortly.
Yeah.
And we could have just seen it then.
A little teaser.
So this is just like confirming that Mothman has been on his shit for a little while.
Yes, exactly.
He's on his bullshit.
Yeah. He's been just fucking about Point Pleasant for
A while.
Right?
And
For some time.
honestly doing a bad job if he's being spotted every time.
I don't think he gives a fuck.
Does he not care?
Yeah, I don't think so.
I just got to stretch my wings. It's not my fault.
Why are you looking?
Yeah.
That's the real
It's
question.
a you problem. But Connie says that there have been strange lights, weird phone calls, and of course, this whole doppelganger thing with the Smallwoods. She says UFOs are one thing, but what do you do when someone says they saw this in their backyard? She passes a drawing to John, and it looks nearly identical to the ones he found in Mary's notebook. Now, it's clear, at least for the production, that the same motherfucker did all the drawings. But he asks who showed it to her. Connie then takes John the next morning to meet Lucy, the woman that we randomly saw in flashes earlier. Lucy directs their attention to a large tree near her house, saying that she saw him there. With the size of the tree and where he stood, she estimates his height to be around 8 feet.
Good.
8, yeah. Much better. It'd be weird if she was that terrified. She was like, he was about 6 feet tall.
What?
I'm sorry? But she says that she was getting ready for bed and she saw him outside her window. She says all she saw was 2 red eyes and was almost put in a trance. In a flashback to that night, we see the camera rise above her house as she says that it just kind of took off. Nat Griffin, her son played by Shane Callahan, comes out to join the group. Now, he has no lines.
But he is present.
Yeah, he's just like, tell it, Mom. Yeah.
He's moral support.
I guess so. But John notices a burn mark on the tree similar to what he found on the front bumper of Mary's car. That's a problem. Mothman's leaving evidence. See, Joe Goldberger.
Why was he there?
I don't know.
Was he peeping?
He's like, oh shit, she spotted
Trying
her.
to get a little freaky? Yeah. I don't know.
That's him flying away, by the way. I think that and this is the thing that happened in real life, allegedly, is that around this time, everybody is seeing the Mothman.
Right.
Like it's like 20, 30, 40 sightings.
That's what I'm saying, that he must not give a fuck.
So I feel like this is just one that he's like, okay, well, I tried to fucking tell them,
Right.
and they just screamed. So maybe I can try this lady.
Maybe
She's like, oh, fuck, she's getting dressed. I'm going to look like a goddamn creeper. And then he flies away.
maybe you should take a tip from the angels and start with, now,
Do
don't
not-
be afraid. I know how I look,
Yes.
okay?
I
Don't freak
can't
out.
help that. Or why not the fucking daytime?
I
Knock
mean,
on the door.
I don't know.
Hi.
Maybe he's using
John Mothman.
Maybe he's using the dark to conceal his scariness.
That's fair.
And if something fucking walked up like that to me in the daytime, I'd probably be even more scared.
Well, he doesn't even he doesn't even need to shop at a big and tall shop. Just get a coat.
Oh,
then-
well, if he's a moth, he's covered in fur,
A
right?
cloak.
Oh, that's true.
Is he covered in fur?
Moths are furry.
I guess.
Yeah.
I just know that from the statue that
He's
they
ripped.
have, he's ripped and he has a fucking donk.
Yeah, dude.
He's got
Oh,
a juicy
yeah.
ass. It didn't look furry.
I believe the youngins these days
Yeah.
call it cake.
Cake. Yes. Mothman's got cake
He
for
does.
sure.
So all the you're telling me that during the day he's somewhere off in the wilderness just
Yeah.
fucking doing crunches and squats,
Yeah.
and then at night he's freaking the fuck out of everyone.
Well,
in
yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe he should start approach people by walking backwards, and they'll
Yeah.
be distracted
They're
by
like,
the cake.
Damn, look at
They're
that
like,
ass.
That's,
She fucking thick, or he thick,
No.
and
It's
then
like,
they turn around and
Now that
you're
I got
already,
your attention
yeah, but
with his big red eyes.
that's even scarier.
Look, we're just offering suggestions.
what he's currently doing is
It's
not
not-
right.
Do you think if some
I'm only trying to help.
sculpted cheeks came at you
In the
and
nighttime.
in the nighttime, then some wings opened and turned around? This
mean-
monster's like, wait, you're not gonna stay.
Does he not control the wings?
Yeah.
Like, good
When
lord.
he gets excited.
He's like, hey, someone's here. We need to workshop this, Mothman.
Oh my god.
We will be your PR team. Like, gladly.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Maybe,
Just contact us, but ask first.
Yeah.
maybe if he was the size of Danny DeVito, it'd be fine.
It would be, well, like
Right,
him
'cause
crawling
he's
out of the couch.
compact.
I'll go talk to him.
Look, we see eye to eye. But after John sees the burn mark on the tree, I have to double back because that was a lot. He gets flashbacks to the night of the accident with Mary, watching as a moth-like shape makes contact with the bumper, and he hears Mary's voice again asking, "You didn't see it, did you?" The camera then floats away from the Griffin's home. This, I was like, is that the Mothman watching?
Yeah.
Is it a matter of...
Oh, I thought it
Yeah.
was like, because didn't he fly away?
No, this was like, you saw Richard Gere
Yeah,
and everybody was there.
Yeah, they're all outside.
No,
and
I'm saying when she's retelling it, and then he just flew away. He's like,
Yeah.
later, bitch. Maybe that's like the view of him. I don't know. Because he was not there in that moment.
No.
Well,
He
we would have
couldn't-
seen him in the
Yeah.
frame
Yeah.
back there, like looking over.
Are they talking
I
about
hope
me?
she tells him.
That's how I took it. Is that was the experience for him running
all
away.
right.
I don't know.
I get it when it's the night of, but
Yeah,
on the day.
yeah.
I don't know.
I
All
thought
right.
the same thing. Though.
Yeah.
I was like, why is he was just waiting in the tree or what?
Because he's not there.
No,
So what else could it be?
What I feel like is they're trying to give almost as if he's always a presence in this town.
Right.
He sees all, he knows all.
Is he Santa Claus?
He doesn't bring anything except
Hey, bad news.
Yeah. And an ass that won't quit.
He's got cake and a sack full of bad news.
But in the next scene, Connie and John arrive at the firehouse. Chief Josh Jarrett, played by Nesbitt Blaisdell, plays a loud, screeching recording for them. He says it started 2 months ago, and he'd hear it every time he answered the phone. It started as beeping, and then turned into howling sounds, and one time, it was a man talking really fast, but he couldn't understand it, assuming it was a foreign language. And we get mad when people call about auto warranties and shit.
Yeah.
Imagine if it's just me.
Yeah.
But he says they've had the lines checked and the number changed, but before he could give out the new number, the calls returned. We then get a shot of the Silver Bridge over the Ohio River before cutting to Connie and John back in town in Point Pleasant.
The thought of him making phone calls is interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, and I don't know. The guy just seems so annoyed. But Father's like, is your refrigerator ready? I'm
laughing.
changing this number.
Like, God damn it. It's interesting because in the book, a lot of disparate supernatural and weird events are talked about.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But in the movie, they're all brought together.
So in the book, are all of these things attributed to Mothman proper, or is it just also weird shit that's happening? But in the movie, they're like, no, it was all Mothman.
I think that's what's weird about the book is because when they talk to people, they tell these stories, but they don't say explicitly that it is the Mothman. They talk about like random lights that they see. They talk about the phone calls. They see people in town that are weird and asking all kinds of questions. Now, it's very ridiculous because a lot of these questions are asked about John Keel, which feels a little like egotistical. He's like, and they were asking about me. I'm like, no, they weren't.
That's all anybody was talking about.
No, they were
that
not.
year.
And the thing is that's also weird is that he changes what he thinks because a lot of this stuff with the UFOs seems extraterrestrial.
Yeah.
But then he's like, I don't think that there's an extraterrestrial origin for the Mothman. I think it's ultra-terrestrial, which isn't like it on steroids or anything.
Yeah.
What it is he's saying that it's coming from not our universe or any galaxy. It's coming from another plane of existence entirely, another universe. It's fucking weird. Again, that's why I'm glad they left out a lot of shit.
So, but then it is his assertion that this is all Mothman related.
Related, but not that he's doing everything. Because
so when he's around, weird shit happens.
Apparently. Because
or
a lot
like
of stuff is attributed...
a Skinwalker Ranch situation.
Maybe. Because a lot of stuff is attributed to people who have names.
Right.
Like he gets calls from people. One guy is named Mr. Apple. Like, see, and you're already laughing.
I'm sorry.
And you see why he was cut from the film.
I would love a deleted scene with Mr. Apple.
But it's very odd because they don't exactly explain these origins in the book either. It's called The Mothman Prophecies, the book.
Yeah.
But much like the film, there's not enough Mothman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But in conversation, John finds out that Connie has lived here her whole life. After John accidentally puts his foot in his mouth regarding her growing up on a farm, when in fact she did not, she says that folks who are telling these stories are good, honest people. At the motel, John is on the phone with Ed again, who is confused as to why he's still in West Virginia. He's like, what of national importance could be coming from West Virginia? And John says that it's scientifically important. Interesting. But when Ed says that their editor is getting a little antsy about his absence, John asks him to just keep him at bay. He then places a photo of Mary in the corner of his mirror and then leaves the hotel room.
I mean, at least he has his back.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Isn't he like, I'll take care of it or whatever?
Yeah.
So, I mean, at least it's a little funny to me that John is just like not working anymore. Like, he's supposed to leave to go interview someone. He never made it there. He never did the interview. And now he's just... I'm in Point Pleasant now. It's just, it's funny.
I'm confused because if I'm John and I'm working for the Washington Post,
Right.
this story has fallen in my lap.
Yeah. And you have resources.
Pitch it to your editor.
That's what I didn't. I was like, why are you not talking about this?
Maybe it's too personal at this point because of the connection with his wife. I don't know. But for me, I would be using every resource available to me through the paper to get to the bottom of...
Mothman.
Mr. Apple.
Yeah.
I think that, first of all, this is the perfect pitch because it's personal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
With new journalism, he can even make himself a character in his own story.
Right.
Just do it.
Right.
But instead, he's like, tell him you like his tie. He'll go away. You're like, what the fuck? But we watch as John and Connie pull up to a somewhat secluded area to meet CJ, played by Dan Callahan, and Holly, played by Kristen Frame. In flashbacks to their story, CJ explains that they were parked up here making out. It rains outside their window, and as they're getting at it, a bright light beams through the back window of their car. In flashes of red light, we see a moth-like creature raise its wings before it disappears. We watch them cling to each other in fear, and he says that the next day when he woke up, his eyes were swollen, and it wasn't from crying like a baby or nothing. The doctor couldn't even explain it himself, which doesn't make any sense because it's clearly conjunctivitis.
No, it's magic.
Oh, okay.
First of all, though, Mothman be cock blocking, and I don't. This is an instance where I don't understand them. Like, unless he's Son of Sam or the fucking Zodiac, I don't know why he cares that these two people are, about to get it in the car.
Yeah.
I don't.
What did you just say?
About to show the flesh in the car.
All right.
I don't get that. And also, is he like, no, remember that shit?
Yeah.
Like, why did he permanently fuck up his eye?
Yeah, I didn't understand that either, and I thought the same thing. I was like,
why do you care? Why are you bothered, Mothman?
They're not doing anything over there bad, man.
I think wherever Mothman's from, they're just really, really bad at timing.
Right.
Because this
Or
woman's
maybe-
changing. He's like, fuck.
Yeah.
These people are trying to have sex. He's like, God damn it. But
He's like, wait, listen real quick. I mean, but again, you're not saying anything. You're not, you were just coming off very scary.
he should have been like, I bring you love.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say maybe he's like building the courage to kill him, and then they
like, nah.
they see him, and he's like, oh shit, and
See,
he runs away.
And now this is honestly slasher behavior.
yeah,
Yeah.
The way he's showing up. But I
He's
feel
like, horny teen.
Yeah.
Not on my watch.
I feel like he's benevolent.
I feel like that's what I want to think.
Yeah.
But looking at all the evidence in this movie, like, it seems like he's having fun. Like, it seems like he's just messy for a lot of the time.
There's one scene later that he's just having a ball.
Yeah.
And
Like,
I'm confused.
I mean, I don't want. I'm here for a complicated Mothman.
Right.
Like, maybe some days he's just mad because nobody's listening to him and he wants to fuck some shit up. But if we could lean in a little further to the trying to help, then I feel like this would make a little more sense.
One, I don't like the idea of Mothman choosing violence.
Right.
And two, the thing about the eyes is there is a kind of conjunctivitis that bright lights will cause.
Right.
And so I don't understand how a doctor doesn't know that.
yeah.
Because the Mothman's around. But I don't know. It's just Mothman's motivation is odd. And I can't really talk fully about it right now, but I can soon. And it's a little confusing.
Yeah.
I would agree. But Connie raises her flashlight to CJ's face, and we see that his eyes are bloodshot, and there is redness on the lower lid all the way down to his cheek on his right eye.
Richard Gere should have gagged like Gregory Peck.
I would have fucking died.
I forgot all about that.
I will never forget.
No,
that.
that's baked in. But CJ says that his eye never healed. Holly says, we're getting engaged, though. Or we're engaged or we're getting married or something.
Yeah.
And John's like, that's good.
Yeah.
Well, it's like small town bullshit. It's
Right.
like, yeah, we were necking in the car, but like, we're going to get married, though. Like,
Oh, so it was like a defense thing.
that's how I took it.
I was like, I don't care. Do you have any more Mothman stories or
She's
not?
like, yeah, his eye's fucked up, but I'm still going to marry him.
It's not a deal breaker. But that night, John receives a call on the phone in his motel room. He answers it, but gets no response. He then gets out of bed and seemingly senses some weird energy. We hear a growling noise and then transition to the next scene. I don't know what the fuck just happened.
Me neither.
This is one of the scenes that I'm like, I don't know if this needed to be here.
There's a couple scenes,
Yeah.
but I'm like, is this too much too fast? Like, does he just have the willies because we were just talking about? I mean, I don't know. It was confusing.
I think that the big scene a second ago with the couple was enough.
No, it was
Right,
enough.
right.
It was enough for sure.
Hence my answer at the beginning.
Yes. But in a POV shot, we glide over Point Pleasant before we're taken to an appliance store where John is looking at tape recorders. Gordon bumps into him, saying he needs to talk to him. He gets real close. I guess this is just their thing.
Yeah.
He's a close talker.
I'm not a fan. But he tells John that he woke up last night with the worst headache he's ever had. And when he went to the bathroom to get some aspirin, he looked into the mirror and the reflection staring back at him was not him or anything else that he could describe.
That's concerning.
Yeah.
And there's more. But wait.
As if this wasn't enough, he then heard a howling noise coming from the sink, followed by a voice saying, "Do not be afraid. 99 will die. Denver 9." He says he wrote it down, and the voice repeated it for an hour.
for an hour.
Like, damn, he's still going off. He's looking at his watch. Fuck me, I gotta get some sleep. I gotta work in the morning.
Are you leaving the room and then coming
Yeah,
back?
he's
Like,
still
"Damn,
fucking
still."
going.
9 will die.
Yeah.
Excuse me, my voice. Because I've been howling all night. But even more, he shows John the paper that he wrote the message on, and it includes a Mothman-style drawing along with red and pink smears, and Gordon says he did not draw it.
So a self-portrait.
Yeah.
It made me laugh a little bit because he's like, I wrote down what he said or whatever. He's like, and then when I woke up, I'm like, you went back to sleep.
Yeah.
We're just up for the night.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm never sleeping
Yeah.
again.
Oh, we're putting on some
9,
Always
10,
Sunny.
never sleep again. Yeah, no.
But lost time and weird messages, like I said, pop up a lot in the book. Drawings, not so much. I don't remember anything about that.
No.
Granted, I did read it at 2 times speed. But the men leave the store together, but when they stop at a crosswalk, Gordon stares off, transfixed on something. John points at his ear uneasily and tells him that it's bleeding, and we see that it is. The camera swirls around them, and we cut to another overhead shot of Point Pleasant, a large shadow cast over it before the screen is overtaken by the color red, and we fade into the next scene.
That was a lot.
It was a lot.
He's got them chasing nothing.
Yeah, pretty much. He's just having a blast.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Like, and it only gets worse as far as his motivations. Like, I don't get it. And I'll make your eye bleed. I'll make your ear bleed.
Yeah.
And then now that is just your life.
So
Like, I don't get it. And let me draw a quick picture of myself. Like,
Yeah.
I don't.
I'll sign it, Mothman.
I'm so confused.
So in the book, I forgot to mention this. There's the character, not a character, it's a real person by the name of Mary Heyer, and she was a journalist in Point Pleasant that went with John Keel on a lot of these interviews.
Uh-huh.
Mary is basically the stand-in for Connie,
All right.
except Mary was not a cop.
Right.
Yeah.
But making both of them journalists in a movie, I guess, would be a little weird.
Right.
And so you make her a cop, you give her the standing in the town, etc. But there was a girl who was the niece of Mary named Connie.
Okay.
And she was 19. And I believe that Connie is Holly of the couple of CJ and Holly that we just met.
This isn't confusing at all.
Yeah.
But Connie is the one whose ears bled. And so they gave that to Gordon. So you see they're incorporating elements, but completely changing who is who.
Yeah.
And it happens a lot because Gordon's not even Gordon in the book. But
Yeah, of course not.
What the fuck?
I'll just save that for a rainy day, I guess. But in the next scene, Gordon is accompanied by his wife and John at a doctor's office to get this whole ear bleeding thing checked out. Dr. Williams, played by Ron Thomas, gives him a clean bill of health, but Gordon's like, "Are you sure? This man's wife had a tumor."
Yeah.
I'm like, that's a lot.
If I were the doctor, I'd definitely be offended.
Yeah.
I don't understand what this has to do with
Yeah.
Your Honor relevancy.
Yeah.
I don't. Okay.
It's like, are you married? Are you married?
Yeah.
I'm very confused.
I don't understand.
But the doctor says that he is sure, but John elaborates, saying that Gordon had hallucinations and heard voices asking specifically about glioblastoma, but the doctor says that everything's pizza. To allay their fears, he offers to send Gordon to a specialist, but Denise declines. Gordon storms out, muttering to John that the doctor is lying. Denise catches up with him in the hallway, telling him that there's nothing wrong with him. She keeps repeating it almost as a mantra to get herself to believe it.
Well, because I mean, wouldn't you want to hold on to that this doctor said everything's fine?
Yeah.
Oh, of course.
And Gordon's like, no, you better fucking find something. You better tell me I'm dying.
Well,
No,
Yeah,
stop. Everything's good. Like, just leave it alone.
I think that I get where Gordon's coming from, though,
Right.
because I've gone to the doctor for a problem and he's like, "No, you're fine." I'm like, "No, I'm
I'm not. Yeah, I'm not though.
So I get why he's frustrated, but
This is just you now.
yeah.
This is normal.
Yeah, this is normal. Get used to it. If a doctor ever said, "Get used to it." But we zoom out from the dirty kitchen sink where Gordon heard the voice, and we hear whispers as well as Gordon's startled shout. I feel like this would have been better placed whenever he was
Before?
telling him
Yeah.
this. But sure. We then cut to the Silver Bridge with cars driving across it and birds scattering from it. It's almost as if they want to keep reminding us it exists.
I don't think so. I think it's just there.
See, sometimes I read into things.
Yeah, no, you're being a little extra. It's just a bridge.
I apologize to everyone. But later at a restaurant, the Smallwoods are having dinner across from John. I laughed because Gordon's been going through it.
He is going through it.
And a lot of shit's been happening, but he's also drinking a milkshake. And I don't know why that was so funny to me.
We find our comfort where we can get it, okay?
He is, again, probably the worst time in his life.
Yeah.
Chocolate milkshake, please.
But if that chocolate milkshake gives you a moment of peace,
fair.
Order the fucking milkshake.
I'll allow it. But Gordon still insists that something is wrong with him. And when Denise says there isn't, he says that he wishes there was so it could explain what's going on with him. Now, this is the part that I understand.
No, I get that.
But Denise does not like that. Gordon asks John if Mary was hearing voices before she had her tumor, but John is clearly distracted by something else. He tells Gordon that she didn't, but he stares off and rises out of his seat, walking toward a television in the corner of the diner. He turns it up as the news anchor shares that flight number 9 out of Denver has crashed, presumably killing all 99 passengers and crew members on board. Gordon closes his eyes like, motherfucker.
I would throw up.
Oh, yeah. Well,
I know
you would.
it's on brand for me, but literally
You
that
would have thrown up before the news.
Yeah, especially if John also had a milkshake. That shit is coming right back up.
But John returns to the table and they once again get way too close. Now, these predictions happen a lot in the book. The only thing is that it gets kind of ridiculous.
Right.
He'll have things like this where, and again, this is John Keel's interpretation of the events.
Right.
He would hypnotize people from Point Pleasant, and through their hypnotism, he would speak to other beings. And these beings, he assumed, were ultra-terrestrials from another dimension. And they would tell him shit like, and it was very funny because he said that they would say that planes would crash, and he said they would on, like, cue or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, on time they would from the predictions. But he also said that he would get phone calls, and this is where he loses me, telling him, again, this is 66, 67, of the assassinations of Martin Luther King and Robert Kennedy. And he said that he tried to get in contact with Martin Luther King, but it was too late. And I'm like, that never happened. So some things I'm like, oh, interesting. And other things. That's why navigating through this book, I understand why they cut out a lot of shit.
Yeah, it's like you're doing too much.
Exactly. The second
reel it in.
The second you've got me, you throw me back like a fish into the water and I swim the fuck away.
So was the Mothman trying to be like he was trying to save these people? Was he trying to warn or what?
My concern in question.
I'm not understanding now what.
Like if this was a warning, why are you saying it like a riddle?
Yeah.
Like why? Like give me specific dates and times and where I can go to say, hey, this plane is going to crash without me getting arrested. You know what I mean? So I just feel like it's very much like, I fucking told you that would happen. Like it's messy, and I don't like this messy depiction of Mothman. I think
I think Mothman is way more. He's not as He's a cryptid, but I don't like how cryptic he's being.
Yeah.
I would much prefer. I mean, granted,
be explicit.
In all fairness, yes, he did say flight number 9. Basically, number 9, 99 will die.
No, he just said 9. He just said 9.
But he said Denver 9. Flight 9 out of Denver. I guess you got to piece it together.
No, that's a fucking lot. That's not what I would think at all.
He's like, look, there's an airport.
You need to tell me like that. And then you need to give me like directions on how to get there. And I don't mean head north. I mean turn right at McDonald's.
Yeah. No.
Directions like that.
I need Mothman to be Apple Maps.
Yes.
Except actually work.
Because the bitch is confused.
The thing is, though, is that in the book, they describe calls that he got, John Keel, where they were vague like that. And then he said straight up that sometimes they didn't even know what they were saying or what they were talking about. So I think that the film is trying to streamline a lot of weird shit that just flat out doesn't make any sense. But they're including it because it was part of the experience.
Yeah. I guess. It just feels like, it just makes Mothman, it paints him in a bad light.
It does.
And I don't like it.
What's weird is in the book, it's not Mothman. These are separate entities altogether, and there's like 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 of them.
It just feels like, I mean, he's a literal being
yes.
that you saw, and then he flew away. He also flew into a brain. He also
And he became the brain.
he's drawing self-portraits. He's in the drain like fucking Pennywise. I just don't. I'm a little confused. That's all. Plus, the scene was funny to me because they played it as like a huge revelation for John.
Yeah.
And John's not the one that got the message.
No.
It's
I
like, can
feel
we
like
focus on Gordon a little bit?
John should have been enjoying his dinner.
Yeah, and then Gordon's like, oh shit. Yeah,
Yeah.
like this is not about you. Sit down. I just thought it was funny.
I'll have another milkshake, please.
But
Yeah.
but what was he? Was the top writer or the top editor?
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Star.
He's the star
Yeah,
reporter.
Remember?
I'm starting to not believe that. But the scene gives way to a static blur, and then we pan over a book about unexplained phenomena by Alexander Leake. As we pan over police files and photographs, we hear John on the phone with Leake, played by Alan Bates, trying to get details about his theories on prophecies. Leake says anything he needs is in the book, and after being a little cagey and honestly a bit dickish,
Yeah.
he rushes off the phone saying he's not in that field anymore.
Like, sorry, bruh.
Yeah.
This is literally like the professional equivalent of my name is Paul and the shit's between y'all.
Yeah.
Like, he could knock it off the phone fast
No,
enough.
he's like, look, it's clear the Mothman chose you. I'm out. But that night at Connie's house, John says the voices Gordon heard were actually predictions that came true. She asks if it was a dream or a hallucination, and he says they sound like dreams, but Gordon believes they're real. Then she reveals something very interesting. She had a dream like that. She describes the dream as we watch it play out. She was in the middle of the ocean at night, and it was too cold for her to swim, so she looked around for something to hold on to. She saw nothing but Christmas presents floating in the water, and eventually she sank. She goes very poetic with it, though, saying she was letting go but felt peace with the fact that she was dying. She even begins to cry while telling it, but then she says that she heard a voice whisper in her ear, "Wake up, number 37." And then she woke up. She asks what John thinks number 37 means, but he has no idea. He's obviously never seen Clerks. But he wipes a tear from her face, which is a little familiar.
Really intimate, I thought. Laura Linney's really great here, though.
Oh, yeah.
But with what John just experienced, Gordon is told these numbers that add up to this tragedy resulting in death. She has this weird prophetic dream that has numbers in it. At this point, I think that something bad is about to happen at Christmas Present Ocean.
We should look into that.
We should look into it. After what you just experienced, he's like, whoa, what a fucking weird dream, man.
Yeah.
Like, what?
I'm still stuck on him touching her cheek like that.
Yes.
Yeah, that was out of pocket.
Yeah, because we never seen them clapping cheeks or
Clapping cheeks.
Are you? Well, you know what I mean. We
You know
don't
what I
ever.
mean.
Yeah.
But when
There is no establishing that.
No.
when he was a prosecutor, or when he was a defense attorney and she was a prosecutor,
Oh,
they did
fuck.
used to date.
They had a change in
They
career.
have
Yeah.
a history. That doesn't just go away.
No, the numbers, though, I'm getting a little tired of these mathematics.
Yeah.
No, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Just fucking lay
Just
it out.
tell me.
I'm dumb.
Or just
Mothman.
write me a letter.
With something.
You
This
can
is
draw
just-
your own fucking visage.
Right. So if you're giving me these numbers, I get the riddle wrong, and then it's
Yeah.
like, no.
Yeah.
And then I got to see it on the news later.
Yeah.
Yeah, quite frankly. Yeah, you're rubbing my nose in it at this point.
He's like, oh, you couldn't solve it.
I gave you all the information, though. So he's in the drain like Pennywise. He's
Yeah.
broadcasting in your dreams like fucking Prince of Darkness.
Uh-huh.
I think Mothman is just a film buff, and he's really just feeling everything out and seeing what works for him.
Personally, I'm here for it.
Yeah.
And he's showing things out of order like Pulp Fiction. Now,
You got to do something while you do those squats. He's watching
man.
movies.
It's like, damn, this is what they're doing out there?
All right.
Sucks I'm a Mothman. I can't. But I do want to point out that Mary Hire, who again Connie is based on, had a similar dream, or so they claim, and the dream was supposedly had on November 19th, 1967, before, anything happened.
Something, yeah.
But in the next scene, we see Gordon driving his truck out to what appears to be the middle of nowhere. I imagine this is like the TNT, whatever place they said
Right.
Yeah.
exists in Point Pleasant. But lights flash around him and he stops the truck. The next day on his property, he tells John that he met the man who told him about the plane crash. He says he was driving home the night prior and he was going past the cement plant by the chemical factory. This is when something happened. We flash back to that night, and through a ton of quick cuts and filters, we see Gordon almost unable to breathe in his truck as the camera whips around. Off in the distance, we see a silhouette with wings, but the wings disappear as the figure approaches Gordon's truck. He says that's when he spoke, and it was the same voice from the sink. He said, "Do not be afraid. My name is Indrid Cold. In a place this size, equator, 300 will die. Wait for me, I will return. I will see you in time." He walks away into the mist, and Gordon just nods his head like, "Hell yeah, sounds good, man." But that was it.
Don't you have any good news ever?
No. Well, fuck. I would rather somebody tell me about bad shit that's gonna happen than just, fill me with candy.
Okay, cryptically tell you about bad shit that's gonna happen that you might not even figure out in time and that you can't even prevent.
He is not perfect. I feel like he's doing the best he can with what he's got.
So this is another one of his abilities, I guess. He can like transform
Be
into
a person?
human. Yeah.
Now here's the problem. In the book,
Right.
as I said, they're separate entities.
Right.
Indrid Cold in the book is not the Mothman. And so he's just a being from another realm.
All right.
Does he have a fat ass?
Oh, see, you should be a reporter asking these important questions. I do not know whether or not he's caked up, but I do know that he would give these cryptic messages, and he gave them to a guy called Woodrow, I believe. And Woodrow is Gordon in the film. But the thing about Indrid Cold is that he wasn't the only one. Like I said, Mr. Apple and all that shit.
Right.
But the movie does the smart thing by not only streamlining all of that into one entity, but streamlining Indrid Cold to be the Mothman as well.
Right.
I think it's a very smart way of handling it versus, I know we've been talking about the Mothman, but there's also this guy.
Why is his book titled The Mothman Prophecies? Because it sounds like Mothman's just like a side character.
That is a great fucking question.
Yeah.
He even leaves out something in the book that eyewitnesses had said, and that involves the Mothman.
Can you tell us?
I'll tell you when we get to it.
Okay.
Because it really makes no sense if you're going to call the goddamn book the Mothman Prophecies.
He's like, no, that's too much.
That's too much. I did very quickly want to go over a story that happened to Reneé when we were children involving the name Indrid Cold.
I was wondering if you were going to bring this up.
I have to because it's the funniest fucking thing ever to me, and I'm already building it up. People are like, "It wasn't that funny." I've heard funnier shit. But basically what happened was, Reneé was what? You were 13, 14?
Probably.
Her ex-boyfriend at the time or boyfriend?
I think ex. I'm all 14.
Yeah.
That's my ex.
Let me just put it this way. Reneé started receiving emails from someone named Indrid Cold.
With a K.
With a K. Even though it's a C in the movie. He didn't want to get sued. But the emails were cryptic.
Right.
They were creepy. They were frightening. Now, this went on a month, 2 months?
For a little bit, yeah.
Went on for a while.
Right.
We were having theories. We had fucking Pepe Sylvia in the room trying to figure shit out. Long story short, Reneé's ex-boyfriend emails her clearly as himself and ends the email with his name and everything and accidentally sends it from the Indrid Cold address. And I don't think, did you ever call him on it or no? Or were you just
I honestly don't remember. But when his name came up in the movie, I was like, man, I fucking remembered because we were like,
we thought we were the next prophecy people.
I'm like, give me some fucking facts and be specific.
No numbers.
At least it's an email. I can, look at it visually.
That's funny.
Yeah. It's really embarrassing.
Yeah. It's just funny to me that he made that mistake.
Well, it's such a rookie mistake. Like it's hilarious. What if you listen to this?
Well, he knows we remember.
We knew the whole time.
Yeah. Fucking liar. No, it's not that serious.
I'm thankful for my husband because I sure could pick him.
Eventually you got it right.
Eventually.
But in present day, John is in total disbelief. But this is when Gordon hands him a newspaper with a headline reading, earthquake in Ecuador. More than 300 people killed.
So Mothman had only read the word Ecuador. He didn't know how to pronounce it.
It's like epitome when we had that friend that said epitome.
Yeah. How the fuck did you want me to prevent an earthquake, Indrid?
That's not something we can help.
I mean, this is more... Man, you didn't figure it. I told you. Equator. I told you, Gordon.
You didn't, though.
Yeah. That's not.
I don't understand.
And you said a town this size?
Yeah.
What the fuck does that mean?
Yeah, how do you know where...
Super specific.
Where it's going to hit.
Nothing.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen a globe in a while, but that's a big fucking line. Kind of stretches the whole thing, but no big deal. Also, Gordon could have just made this up after seeing the newspaper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he had it that day.
That made me that made me laugh too, because he tells him the whole story and he's like, now check this shit out.
It's like, now you're just fucking with me.
It would have been cool if they went into town and walked past like a newspaper stand or something, and Gordon's like, oh fuck. Like, this was really funny.
Yeah.
He's like, no, hold the phone.
Was this like a pickup shot or reshoots? They're like, we can't go back to town.
Yeah.
So you're just going to have the paper. But later that day, John goes directly to the source as we see him arriving at the cement plant to look around. Now, something admittedly hilarious happens here for me. He sees a giant hole in the side of the building, and in his memory, he sees the scene with the orderly superimposed over the hole, with the orderly framed by it, saying, "She knew."
Yeah.
So the orderly was the Mothman.
Yeah.
I guess so.
Confirmed.
He got a job at the hospital real quick.
Yeah. That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Yes.
You've seen a lot of doorways since then.
Yeah.
That's true. Why'd it have to be this one? But this is when he hears the echoes of Mary's sobs as the camera just flies away. So moments like this do kind of make it hard to defend the film.
Yeah.
Admittedly, yeah. That's why I'm like, I love it. But
Why was he like, that reminds me of that orderly?
Yeah.
Like, what? That makes no sense. But back at the motel, John plays the fire chief's latest phone call over the tape recorder for Connie. It's just an incessant screeching noise, but he plays it very close to her, and you kind of wonder if they're going to kiss or not.
Yeah.
is this part of John Keel's? He's like, she totally wanted to bang me too. Like,
What, Connie? No, online. But the tension is broken by the sound of the phone ringing, and John goes to answer it. It's Gordon. He apologizes for yesterday, but says that shit's getting real weird out here. But then he drops the bomb. Indrid Cold is there, and he's standing right next to him. John snaps into action, immediately telling Connie to get over to Gordon's now. She does as asked. I don't want to say told because he's not in charge. But John returns to the phone, asking to speak with Indrid Cold. Gordon passes the phone to him, and we hear a distorted voice say, "Hello, John Klein."
Gordon's like, expiation. He's just like, look, I got him right here. Like, it's just very, I don't know.
It's like,
that would scare the shit out of me.
You know that man you've been looking for?
Yeah.
Well, listen to this.
Heard you've been looking for the Mothman, bitch.
But he introduces himself as Indrid Cold, and John starts recording the call. To prove he is who he says he is, he tells John that John's father was born in Racine, Wisconsin. He grew up in a greenhouse on Monroe Street, and he doesn't remember what his mother looks like. John's like, you had my curiosity, but now you have my attention. As another test, he throws his watch into his shoe and slides his shoe under the bed. He asks where his watch is, and Indrid Cold very matter-of-factly says, in your shoe, under the bed.
I like that he added under the bed. He's like, I know I saw that shit too.
It's funny because when he says in your shoe, that's not enough. But when he says under the bed, John's like, oh, fuck.
Yeah.
And the music explodes.
A shoe's a normal place to put a watch.
We all keep our watches in our shoes. But he closes the drapes and turns off all the lights, picking up the phone again. Indrid says, very good, John. Thank you. Not sure why he says that. But John holds something in his hand and asks Indrid what it is. Indrid whispers in an echo, chapstick. Iconic.
Literally the moment I think of when I think of the Mothman Prophecies.
Me too.
Because, like, how do you make chapstick scary? But you did it.
He's done it.
This is what I'm saying this is like Mothman slander to me. This is bordering on when he turns off the lights and he's like, yeah. I'm like, why?
Very good.
Why are you being like this?
I don't know. I do want to point out that John does open his hand and he reveals.
It is chapstick.
Yeah, it is. But he's like, you're reading my mind, aren't you? Indrid says he doesn't need to do that. John then snags a book from his nightstand, randomly asking Indrid to read the third line from page 31. After he does so, he asks John if he needs more proof. He's like, God damn, I'm not a fucking parlor trick.
Yeah, I know. I was going to say, how much longer are we doing this shit, dude?
He's like, well, how many fingers am I holding up? Indrid Cold's like, Gordon, you said he was cool.
He's like, now put that chapstick on those ashy ass lips.
Yeah, God damn. I can see them from here.
And shut the fuck up.
No, I don't even need my sight. I can hear their ashy. We then see Connie racing to Gordon's house, sirens blaring as the conversation continues. When asked what he looks like, Indrid says it depends on who's looking. So again, it's that perception thing.
Right.
John says that he wants to meet Indrid, but he says that they've already met. He's seen him afraid. In fact, he's afraid right now. John then asks what happened to Mary. Indrid says John was there, but Mary can't be found by looking. He'll see her in time. The phone then belts out a screech that scares the piss out of John.
I guess that means he's done talking.
Yeah.
Kind
That's
of a
how they
rude
say
way
goodbye.
It also made me laugh when he's telling him to read what's in the book or whatever. That the words like highlight and like it's like, no, we see it.
I feel like that's treating your audience kind of.
I thought it was hilarious.
Unless that's us in Mothman's brain reading it because he sees in red and shit.
So
he's like, no, I see that too.
So this was Moth Vision.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's said at the bottom of the screen. Now, Keel says that he did have a call with Mr. Apple, and I do believe it's spelled APOL, but it's still funny to hear Mr. Apple.
Yeah.
I was like Fiona's father?
Yeah. But his was dealing with a stopwatch that he had, and he said that Mr. Apple just told him it was in his closet, and it was.
Wow.
I feel like the shoe bit is way more.
Yeah.
More dramatic. Again, changing things for the better, even if it's, changing the quote facts unquote. But Connie arrives at the Smallwood home, banging on the door and calling out to Gordon. He answers, completely calm, asking if everything's okay. She asks if he called John, and he says that he's been asleep since 9 p.m. So, no.
The fuck?
Yeah. In the next scene, John takes the phone call recording to be analyzed at a lab. Sonny, the tech, played by Tim Hartman, tells John that Indrid Cold's vocal range is much higher than John's. No matches are found for it, and he says as far as he can tell, it's an electrical impulse that's definitely not coming from human vocal cords.
What?
Yeah. So you hear his voice, right?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. And I know I'm not an expert on it, so I don't know, but so can you tell all of that from the sound waves? I mean, you clearly hear, like you said, you hear the voice.
Right.
Sonny's
you know
been
it's
doing
coming
this a
from
long
somewhere.
time.
I know that the human voice occupies certain ranges.
Right.
But,
I mean, you're
He's like,
getting
this is a
that
computer,
voice
bruh.
from somewhere.
yeah.
And he's he's just very like clinical about it when you're hearing a human voice and being
Exactly.
like, no, it's not a human. Like, I feel like he should be like, that's really strange because he's just like, no, dude, I'm sorry, I don't know what to tell you.
It's like it's obvious you're fucking with me
Yeah.
at my place of work, which is
I know we hear the human voice, but that is
It's
not.
not. It's clearly not.
It is interesting because in the book he says everything that he ever recorded, whenever he played it back, it was just electrical noises.
Right.
But in the film, exactly. But
It's just dial up.
I appreciate that the voice is there because then at least there's some kind of record.
Right.
Yeah.
Some kind of evidence rather than John just looking crazy. But it's not a human voice. Later at the motel with Connie, John is talking to Ed on the phone. Ed tells him that they used to make fun of supernatural bullshit like this, but John says it's different when it's happening to you. Ed changes the subject, telling John that he needs to call the editor today. He'll back up whatever excuse he comes up with for his absence, but he might not have a job when he comes back. John says he'll call him from Chicago and gets off the phone.
I mean, Yeah, you might not have a job when you get back. Like, I don't know why this is supposed to be. You're not working.
So how
you just fucking took off.
Yeah, how fucking long has he been gone?
That's what I'm saying.
And I want to know that. Because they don't really say. The only time they've given is the 2 weeks from the crash to Mary passing away.
Right.
Since then, it's just a fucking blur.
Yeah.
Well, because it went from, hey, dude, are you okay? To, hey, you need to call guy and say
Yeah.
something to, you're fixing to be fired.
Well, I mean,
So-
I'm assuming it's been more than a few days between each call.
Well, no, yeah.
And
Yeah.
him and Gordon are like confiding in each other and like almost kissing now. So, I mean, their relationship has evolved.
So it's been
Right.
some time.
He's wiping tears off. I mean, I feel like he's been here for a minute.
He's basically a local at this point.
Yes. They know his order at the diner. Like,
Yeah.
it's a lot.
Ed's like, I can only compliment this dude's tie so many times.
Going back to the sound tech thing, it made me laugh because they're just sitting there and the tape is still playing. And he's like, what happened to my wife? I'm like, there's a lot of fucking personal stuff on here. And it's just playing.
John's like, you can stop the tape
Yeah, right.
anytime you want. It's fine.
He's just crying.
Yeah.
Yeah, the guy's like,
You've said it's not a human voice. It's fine. But after confirming with Connie that his flight to Chicago is at 8 a.m., he asks her if he's crazy while holding a copy of Leek's book. Connie says no, but he's like, nah, I'm crazy. But the next day in Chicago, we dip down from an amazing-looking Gothic church, John standing in front of it with his eyes on a hotel across the street. As soon as he sees Leek step out, he makes his way across. But it seems like Leek notices him and just turns tail,
Yeah.
just starts fast walking down the street. John catches up to Leek in an alley and calls out to him. He tells Leek who he is and that he called him earlier in the week. He shows one of the Mothman drawings and asks what it is, saying that people are seeing it in Point Pleasant. Leek tries to walk away, but John pleads with him for help, and he finally relents and tells John to follow him.
he was really not trying to get involved.
He's like, I told you, that's your problem now. But of course, they head to a library.
Of course.
Well, now that he's got some help, maybe
Yes.
we can get some answers.
We can only hope they can get in touch with Vincent D'Onofrio. But in books, he shows John a drawing of a red-eyed moth, calling it a nocturnal butterfly. He says in ancient cultures, moths represent a soul immortally trapped in the hellish death realms. Then he says it, Mothman.
It's a lot.
It is a
Yeah.
lot. I laughed because he qualifies it, saying that that's what the Ukrainians called it. It's a rough translation. Bullshit.
Yeah, no.
Literally, I don't know. I read that the origins of the term Mothman, because whenever they first wrote about it in the papers in Point Pleasant,
Right.
they wanted to call it Batman.
Can't do that.
Can't do that.
Yeah.
A copy editor just randomly changed it to Mothman, and that's what it became.
Well,
So it wasn't fucking translations. In the ancient text,
Yeah.
no, none of that. But he says that there were hundreds of sightings in Chernobyl the year of the disaster and in Galveston in 1969, just before the hurricane. Now, this line pissed off a lot of cryptozoologists because there were no sightings of Mothman in Ukraine or
Yeah.
Chernobyl,
Yeah.
any of that stuff.
No, y'all are just adding hot sauce at this point.
Yeah.
So again, is the implication here that he like just likes to hang out around tragedies or that he's causing them?
I think, again, it's a benevolence. Like, he's here to be like, hey, watch
Yeah,
out.
yeah.
But he's not though. He's like warning people in a cheeky, like asshole way.
I don't know that he knows he's being an asshole.
I don't know, man. When everyone reacts to you one way, maybe it's
Maybe,
you.
yeah. It's like, oh, fuck, the whole time.
that's what's confusing about the Mothman in this movie. I don't.
To me, I think I get with the idea of him existing,
Right.
but the predictions is where you lose me.
Yeah.
But yeah, because of this movie, that stuff has been printed as fact.
Right.
And that's
This
why
is a movie,
Yeah.
y'all.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
That's why people are pissed off.
Did you guys know that Richard Gere like contacted the mother?
We had personal
This is a
conversations.
film.
Yeah.
But Leek says there's no material evidence of the Mothman existing. He says seeing isn't always believing and uses microwaves and infrared waves as example of things that exist but defy our need to see them. He says these things have always existed, pointing to a cave painting of the Mothman that looks just like a regular cave painting with the Mothman added in post.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that
Oh,
was
yeah.
hilarious.
Everybody else looked like they should
Yeah.
be there, and then it's just crudely drawn. Mothman with red eyes.
It's just the sketch from Mary's hospital room taped on it.
It's like there too? Jesus. But John presses for more of an explanation, but Leek says it can't be explained rationally. After a moment, Leek comes up with something. That buildup of energy before something happens, like when your hair stands up before a lightning strike. John's like, so are they trying to help us or harm us? Leek has no idea.
So is this implying the existence of Mothmen?
Yes, I believe so.
I don't really like that.
No, I like him to be the one and only.
Yeah.
But Leek says that their motivations aren't human, which, awesome.
Yeah.
Leek says that John probably wants to know why him, and he says it's because John noticed them and they noticed that. He says trauma is the gateway to that level of sensitivity, and he asks what happened to John. John does not answer.
Hold on, though, because now we're getting into a chicken egg situation.
Right.
John is more open because of his trauma, so now he can see the Mothman, but the Mothman caused his trauma to have him open to be able to seeing them. I'm
lost.
Yeah, what?
So kind of like one dude went into the further and then they noticed that he noticed them.
Like, oh shit.
It's exactly like that.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think Insidious is basically just the Mothman. One thing that I don't get again is that if they're using that as an excuse for why he can see it,
right?
Why did Mary see it?
Everyone else, yeah.
Why is Gordon seeing it? You know, so and then later on we'll talk because it gets a little ridiculous.
I'll be honest. I've said it several times. I really like this movie. These parts are kind of where it falls apart for me.
It sucks because they should be very cool.
Yeah, and they
Yeah.
don't. And I didn't know if it was just me personally, but they just don't do it for me.
No.
Because you're adding like texture and context that doesn't fit to what we've seen so far, if that makes sense.
No, it makes sense. And I feel like there are some cool lines here.
No,
Yeah.
for sure. But
and
like
concepts, but they don't.
contextually,
Yeah. But the men walk outside, and John tells Leek about Gordon and the prediction that did come true, asking how Indrid Cold could know so much. Leek turns his attention to a window washer on a high-rise, saying that if there were a car accident blocks away, that man would know about it and they wouldn't. It doesn't mean he's smarter or more advanced. He can just see a little further down the road. John's like, but no, they are more advanced, and asks why they don't just tell him everything.
That's my question.
Leek's like, try explaining yourself to a cockroach. After learning about 20 people have seen Mothman in Point Pleasant, Leek tells him something terrible is going to happen there. Don't go back, but he can't say anymore. John says something brought him to Point Pleasant, and he has to know why. And Leek tells him that whatever it was that brought him there, it brought him there to die.
Why?
I don't know.
This is what I'm talking about. There were very cool lines here.
Yeah.
But like what? Okay, why is he bringing him here to die? A. B, no, I've never explained myself to a cockroach, but I've also never picked one up at one place, put him down in another place, and called him on the phone. Like, I've never done that either. So
there's a lot of parts.
Right.
Confused.
I laughed because after he says, you know, he brought you there to die.
Right.
He gives him a look like, now think about that shit.
Yeah.
And then leaves.
Yeah, and then it's like, and fuck everyone else that lives there.
Apparently.
Like,
as long as you're safe.
Yeah.
So the Mothmen are here, but they're not here.
Yes.
The only reason the dude can see the thing is because he can see over the buildings. I mean, he's just higher up.
That's not magic. But then he's confusing me because he's like, okay, they're not of, they've always been around. They're ancient.
Right.
They're not of human origin. They don't even have human motivations. But then he's comparing him to a window washer who can just see a little bit further down the road.
Yeah.
So,
which one is it? That's
but that gets into the thought of the ultra terrestrials that are of a different origin as well, but then also know fucking everything.
Right.
So what is it? Which one?
All of the above.
Okay.
Just say you don't know. Just say you don't know, Leek.
Oh, and then he contradicts himself in the book because Keel, again, he says he isn't going for that extraterrestrial bullshit, but Gordon, the stand-in who met with Indrid Cold, in the book, he says Indrid Cold took him to his home planet.
Well,
stop.
Yeah. And again, I'm glad they left that shit out But yeah, he says that he met Indrid's fucking wife and shit.
Not
What?
wife.
Yeah.
I want a deleted scene of this.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
I prefer the lights in the field versus fucking having alien dinner or whatever.
What? It's just fucking. What was it? Astronaut Jones. What the fuck?
I don't know. But it's a lot. It's funny because he is kind of chuckling in disbelief about this whole thing.
Yeah.
Like he's like, there's not even a human origin and shit.
Yeah.
And he's talking about how cryptic they are, and then he's like, well, you're probably gonna die there. I won't say how, but
Yeah.
like you are Mothmanning
It's
him.
like, have a good
Yeah.
man. Have a good one. I said, have a good man.
But after frantic overhead shots of the lights of Point Pleasant at night, John walks through a massive crowd of people gathered in the town square. As he passes a small bonfire and a ton of Christmas decorations, a little boy with a bloodshot eye stares directly into the camera. John then meets up with Connie and the Griffins and actually hugs Connie when he sees her.
Yeah.
She like jumps into his arms.
We're
Yeah.
dating now.
Apparently.
I don't know. This movie was already longer than it needed to be.
Right.
Yeah.
So I was going to say maybe add a little bit of like them getting to know each other, like having these lingering moments.
Yes.
But I mean, I guess we do get the moments a little bit, but they're not like earned or deserved.
Not
like,
really.
Right.
I think they just want us to accept that it's Richard Gere and Laura Linney.
Yeah.
And
I
they're
mean,
like,
and
you
I
guys
do.
love singing
Yeah,
together.
and I do.
I do. But they also kind of stare lovingly at each other.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I guess, sure. But Denise glares at John, and Connie tells him that Denise left Gordon. He was apparently fired from the chemical plant after he stopped showing up, and they don't know where he is.
Not them spilling all of Gordon's tea
Yeah.
the minute
Oh, yeah.
John walks over.
By the way,
He lost his fucking job. His
Since
fucking
you-
what? It's like, dude,
you were in Chicago, but
he left. He left for a meeting.
yeah, dude. I think this is the same day. But Connie wanders off, and John follows her. It was actually Lucy that spilled the tea. I fucked up.
Connie did too, though, didn't she?
It was a
She's
tag
like,
team.
Yeah.
But Connie did storm off, and John follows her to ask her what's wrong. She says 15 more people have reported sightings of the Mothman, 3 of them cops, who I guess work with her.
Right.
She changes the subject, though, asking how Chicago was, and John lies, saying Leek wouldn't see him.
Why you always lying? I really don't understand the
Yeah,
motivation
no.
because he's been so like open with everything.
Right.
Uh-huh.
Even stuff that like you would want to keep to yourself, like his wife and stuff. Like he's been open about everything, and now he's like, "Nuh-uh."
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, aren't y'all like married now? Don't you want to say?
Basically, yeah.
I'm like, I don't get
They
it.
took the
Yeah.
wedding date from CJ and Holly. Like, we'll actually
Plus,
be.
if you learned anything, why wouldn't you share it?
I don't
Exactly.
know.
You know what I mean?
There and really all that he would tell is just the cryptic bullshit that he heard.
Yeah.
It's not even anything that can even really be helped.
No, and it's not even like she's not in the mood to talk about the Mothman because she
No.
was just talking about him.
By the way,
Or-
15 more people.
Yeah.
Or maybe bring up the fact that he said that he's supposed to die here.
Kind of
Yeah,
important.
I mean, literally any of that would work.
I do want to point out as well that we saw the little boy with the bloodshot eye.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
got
So-
15 more people and 3 of them being cops. What are they going through?
Yeah.
That fucking Mothman's like, no, I'm here for you, or whatever.
John's just like, that's fucking crazy, dude.
Yeah. That kid's eye is fucked up. But a crowd gathers for the lighting of a massive Christmas tree, cheering as it comes to life above them. In the next scene, we see John driving in his car trying to call Gordon, but getting no response. He stops on the Silver Bridge when he sees Gordon resting on the railing. He gets out, asking if Gordon is all right, and suggesting they get in the car since it's so cold outside. Gordon declines, saying he's waiting for Indrid Cold. He says everyone thinks he's insane, but they don't understand. Now, he says that, but 15 other people also today
Yeah, so
Yeah.
had contact with the
Yeah.
Mothman. So I don't think they're thinking that. But John says he doesn't think he's crazy. Again, he's never once
nope.
said so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Gordon says that he's been lying awake at night, feeling as though he's asleep, but completely awake, and that's when he hears Indrid Cold. But lately, he's been hearing him all the time, all at once, and he feels like he finally understands everything.
Why is the Mothman so obsessed with him?
I don't know.
No, he
Well-
loves Mothman.
Yeah. He's
And
got the
Mothman loves
t-shirt
him.
and
Yeah.
it's beautiful. But he's also going and talking to all these other people too. So what the fuck is
Yeah.
Mothman's?
Yeah.
Whore.
But then he asks John the last time he was happy, and John thinks for a moment and then steps away. Gordon stops him, telling him that it's all real. I do want to say on this, as I was watching this scene, I thought Gordon was going to fucking alley-oop over that thing.
Yeah.
I did too.
You remember the dude from The Grudge?
Yes.
That's what I thought was going to happen.
I did too.
And the fact that it didn't surprised me.
Yeah, I was very worried for him.
But we get one last shot of the Silver Bridge before we cut to John tossing and turning in bed at the motel. The last time he rolls over, though, he finds Mary lying next to him. She looks at him wordlessly, but he hears her say, "John, I want you to be happy." She smiles at him and then disappears in the next shot.
Now there's ghosts?
Yeah.
Okay.
Crabs have machine guns.
Yeah. All right.
All right. But suddenly the phone rings and John answers it. The person on the other end tells him it's his wake-up call, only he didn't ask for one. It made me laugh because he answers the phone and he's like, "This is your wake-up call."
Yeah.
I didn't ask for one. Click.
Yeah.
It's like, what the fuck? This is the worst fucking motel. Most unprofessional shit. But the clock turns to 6:14 a.m. and John gets out of bed, heading into the bathroom. He splashes some cold water on his face, then stares into the mirror. He then imagines bashing his head into the glass, shattering it, and Leek's words play in his mind. "What happened to you, Mr. Klein?"
Me too.
Every morning.
Yeah.
So I figured it out. He's Tyler Durden, right?
You might have to cross that off your list, Nate, because I don't
Okay,
think so.
damn it.
Your theories are coming together, though. For me, I thought this would have been a great moment for something similar to what happened to Gordon to happen to him,
Yeah.
where he doesn't see his reflection.
Oh, yeah.
Because then it's starting to, but instead
he
he's
just
like,
back.
break stuff. Like, what the fuck? But this is when his cell phone rings, and it's Gordon. He tells John that he can't believe he got through, then says Indrid Cold was right. He was right about understanding. It's real, and John has nothing to worry about.
But Gordon already said it was real on the bridge.
Yeah.
He's like, remember earlier when
Like
I
he's
said,
saying it like it's a revelation.
I'd like to double down.
It is real.
It is real. As John shouts questions at him, Gordon just says, "I'll see you in time," and hangs up. This is exactly what Indrid Cold said to Gordon. But we then see Gordon walking through fog into the trees. It's edited to appear as though John sees it too, but there's no way he sees it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was a little confused by that editing choice.
Yeah.
Because his eyes like perk up and then it shows him closer in the woods. It's like, he doesn't see that shit. But John speeds out of the motel parking lot in his car straight for Gordon's house. He lets himself inside, calling out and checking the rooms, but runs back outside when he can't find him. He eventually makes his way through the trees, eventually stumbling upon Gordon from behind, slumped against a tree. He rushes over, and when he gets to the other side of the tree, we see that Gordon is dead. He appears a little blue, so it's safe to assume that it was the elements.
Right.
But he closes Gordon's eyes and just sits there solemnly.
So this is what I'm saying. Gordon was basically Mothman's #1 fan.
Right.
Yes.
And this is how he's repaid? Like, I don't get it.
I don't understand why Mothman lured him, like Rick James's aura,
Yeah.
Yes.
into his
to
own
freeze
death.
to death. Yeah.
It literally makes no sense, especially
It's fucking rude. Like,
It
and
is.
that's not the Mothman I know and love.
No. And in the book, that Woodrow guy did not die. So this is all just for the film.
He's just writing letters to
Yeah.
Mrs. Krabappel.
The hand, the acting, he was like, he was
He was like trying
sad.
to reach out.
Yeah.
And then,
He was sad.
He
Like,
was.
that was a lot.
it's like, damn, Richard Gere is.
Yeah.
He's in this.
Mm-hmm. But we cut to John talking to Connie, asking if they can tell how long ago Gordon died. She says they're estimating 8 hours ago and that he died of exposure. John says he came out here because he got a call from Gordon and didn't like how he sounded. Connie presses him to find out when Gordon called, and John admits that it was an hour ago. She's like, I don't like this.
Yeah, the fuck?
Yeah. But she walks off to hold a crying Denise as the ambulance pulls away. So, already had it before that he didn't call whenever he talked to Indrid Cold.
Yeah.
Now you're having it again that he was fucking dead
Yeah.
when he got a call from him.
Yeah.
So, ghosts?
Yeah, I don't it like starts to fall apart because
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
understand like what's Mothman. Now Mary, the ghost of Mary is here.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Connie's just like, I don't like this crap.
Yeah, I love that she's not even like weirded out. She's like, I don't like this, John. Like, you better fucking change that shit. I think the thing for me is that, like you're saying, it's becoming like a house of cards.
Right.
You've added too many cards.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then I mean, in a minute, even it's like, just let's keep going.
Okay. In the next scene, John leaves a bar after downing a shot. Now, the bartender I read is a cameo from the director, and also the voice of Indrid Cold on the phone is the director.
So the director, his vocal cords are electronic.
Yeah. He's not human.
Holy shit.
The bar, though, is called The Pub, which is very meta.
Right.
I liked it. But Denise walks past him, glaring. Church bells chime as the fire chief approaches John. He says it didn't feel right to bring it up at the funeral, but as far as he knows, there have never been any accidents at the chemical plant. John is confused, but the chief says that he left him a message asking about it. Back in his motel, with the kettle on the stove, John is on the phone with Sonny, the sound man, swearing up and down that it's not his voice on the phone recording.
So does Mothman just have one of those things like in Scream where he has all their voices?
Scream. This is where I'm like, what purpose?
I don't know.
It's like, Dewey, come to the chemical plant. It's like, I didn't
never
say
called
that.
you. No, you know what it is that's funny to me is that Mothman's getting impatient.
Right.
He's like, why the fuck haven't you pieced together that it's the chemical
Because
plant?
you're not giving good clues,
Yeah,
Mothman.
no.
You know what? I'll just be you.
Yeah.
And I'll get to the bottom of this. But Sonny says that it matches his voice print perfectly, so it's like, sorry.
That guy is just like, I'm sick of your shit.
Yeah, I'm sick of doing your work for free also, by the way. But the real interesting bit happens when John approaches a mirror on a closet door, still on the phone. He's so distracted by the call, in fact, that he doesn't see his reflection is not matching up at all with his actions. So unsettling.
It looks fucking awesome.
Oh, yeah.
But again, so the Mothman's in the mirror, the Mothman's inside him. Like,
I think the Mothman is the mirror.
Oh, the real Mothman was inside of us all along.
I love it, though.
I do.
No, it looks really fucking cool, and it gives you like this unreality.
Yeah. I like this part, but it also I don't know what it has to do with the Mothman.
I'm not sure either. I don't know. I mean, let me finish this because it kind of, I can maybe piece it together.
All right.
Okay.
It won't work, but I'll try. Sonny apologizes and says he would swear it's John's voice. John then gets off the phone angrily, grabbing for his kettle, but burning his hand. In frustration, he knocks a lamp over, then slams the closet door.
Don't blame that burn on Mothman.
No.
You were not paying attention.
I feel like Mothman's catching a lot of heat
Yeah.
that he doesn't deserve.
He made my kettle too hot. It's like, no.
Who left it on the fucking...
That was not Mothman.
But as he slams the door, we see a distorted face reflected in the mirror. Now, this scared the fuck out of me as a kid. I remember like shrinking into a fear ball.
Yeah.
But to me, I feel like this might explain the reflection thing. Like when he's around, things just aren't right.
Okay.
All right.
And that's his. Hey, I was surprised. I thought
We
you
just
guys
accepted
would,
it.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank
Yeah,
you.
cool. Move on.
That's how desperate we are for an answer.
I guess so.
I seen kind of like an orc face from Lord of the Rings.
So that was Mothman.
I think that was supposed to be the Mothman.
because I was like, is that Mary?
Yeah,
it looked weird.
I think it was supposed to be the Mothman. At least that's the only thing that makes sense
I
to
thought
me.
the Mothman was supposed to have like big, beautiful red eyes.
Yeah.
Well, I saw a red light,
Isn't he a moth?
supposedly.
Was he
He's
chewing
also a
on a
man.
sweater?
The thing about this scene for me is that I think it's one of the coolest scenes in the film, but it's also like a Jack Skellington thing because it's like interesting reaction. But what
does
does
it
it mean?
mean?
You're showing me a lot of cool shit, but you're really not giving me any reason to
That's my thing.
connect with it.
Yeah, but it looks fucking cool.
Yeah. So you almost want to forgive him.
Yeah.
But later in town, John is walking down the street, stopping in front of the police station, then deciding to go a different direction. As he turns around, he misses Mary walking right past him and toward the camera with a music cue. He orders a coffee at the bakery, and we see Mary walk out of the police station. Once again, he misses her on his way in. He bumps into Connie, who asks if he knew that woman who just left. She says she had long red hair, green eyes, and was very pretty. She was asking about John. This is when John pieces it together, running outside but finding no one. The camera sweeps down from the second floor to the first floor in like a really fluid motion.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I didn't see a cut, but I loved that a lot. But Connie follows after him, and John asks if he saw where she went, but she didn't. Connie says that she asked what he was doing here and asked if he was happy. Connie says she then asked her for ID, but she didn't have it, and just said, "Tell John I'm sorry for ruining everything," and then left. John frantically reaches into his coat, pulling out a photo of Mary from his wallet, asking if it was her. Connie's like, "That's your wife?"
That's the most heartbreaking shit, man.
Yeah.
As soon as she realizes what's happened, her skepticism kicks in, and she says that actually it wasn't her.
Yeah, don't do that, Connie.
Yeah.
Don't.
John calls bullshit and kind of rushes off, and he tells her, he's like, "Don't do that to me."
Yeah.
Like, because that's bullshit. I'm a skeptic, but the evidence is piling up a lot.
Yeah.
And if you literally just saw this man's wife, don't try to change that shit now.
I think she just doesn't. She's like, no, it can't. Like, it can't be. I'm not allowing that to have been what I saw.
She's like, well, it kind of looked like her. I was like, it was Deborah Messing. Like, don't do that.
Did she look like the lady from Will and Grace?
That's how you know. But John heads back to the motel, and we see that he has 9 messages on the machine, and the phone is ringing. The red light blinks as it rings, and he answers it, only hearing electronic static on the other end.
How fucking rude.
Yeah.
As soon as he picks up.
He's just having too much fun. But when he listens to the messages, it's nothing but the same fucking noise. The phone rings again, and he answers it, but this time we hear Indrid Cold saying, "I'm so sorry, John. I feel like I've ruined everything." His voice morphs into Mary's towards the end, and John just smashes the phone on the nightstand and speeds out of the motel again.
So is he mocking her?
I don't know.
How did he bring her back? Like, I just don't understand how this ties to him.
If I'm honest, we talked about the movie being a little long. There's some bloat right there.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't make sense.
Is he being an asshole?
That's what it feels like. That's what I'm saying. I don't subscribe to this fucking mean, messy Mothman.
I want to sue on behalf of the Mothman.
You will be hearing from my lawyer.
Because Mothman's not like this.
No.
But John speeds down the road, heading back to Chicago, seeing flashes of Mary as he drives. He arrives at Leek's apartment, knocking on the door. Leek answers, and John says he needs to know what happened to him. Leek invites him in, and they sit down to talk. Leek says in the past that he was a tenured professor, but started hearing voices, which became messages, which then convinced him that he was receiving predictions of disasters. He said despite the fact that he had tapes of the voices, nobody believed him, and people died. As a result of this, he was almost arrested, his wife left him, and his kids cut off all communication with him, and he spent 4 years in a psychiatric hospital.
What?
Yeah, I don't understand.
Your wife left you.
Yeah.
Like, this is just a lot. And I feel like maybe when we met the other day, like, you could have told me some of this.
Yeah. Instead of just, "You're going to die, get out."
Well,
yeah.
Not only that, if he has recordings, I hope if I had proof, you wouldn't leave
That's what
me.
I'm saying. His wife's like,
"No,
"Oh, I
that's bullshit."
can't. I'm not fucking doing this."
I think that's my issue is, like I said in the real story, it was just the noise.
Yeah.
Here, he's got voices.
Yes.
Yeah.
But she's like, nah, well, she was going to leave him anyway. I think this was just the excuse.
She was looking for an excuse.
But he lost everything. But he says in the end, it came down to one simple question. Which was more important, having proof or being alive? This is why he stopped engaging in it. John's like, but didn't you need to know? Balik tells him that they're not allowed to know.
Well, that's easy for you to say. Your wife left you. She's not lying in a comment somewhere. I think I'm just in the mood to watch Scream.
Stupid. But John speeds back to Point Pleasant, disposing of all the research and evidence in a dumpster. After that, he stares longingly at his photo of Mary. The camera twists into her eye, where we see the Mothman's red silhouette before zooming out of the earpiece of a phone off the hook.
Okay.
Yeah.
I said earpiece like it's fucking Alexander Graham Bell. It was a phone. It was just a regular phone. I don't know what I'm talking about.
Operator.
But we see that he did keep the tape recorder, even though he threw everything else out. In the next scene, we see that he's rigged up some kind of ridiculous contraption with cords in the motel telephone to the tape recorder. The phone rings, and John rushes over to answer it, but it turns out to be Cyrus, his editor. He tells him to drop whatever he has going on because Governor McCollum will be going to Charleston, then he'll be touring the chemical plant in Point Pleasant, and he wants John to meet him there.
Do you even have a job anymore, man?
I gotta tell you, Cyrus is handling this a lot better than I expected. But John is only like half listening, and he's like, you got it, boss, but gets off the phone so quick and picks up the tape recorder. He turns up the volume, holding it just so, and he hears the voice of Indrid Cold saying, "Great tragedy on the river Ohio." But he immediately heads out to Connie's house to warn her, but she says that she can't cancel everything just because he has a bad feeling.
You know better. Like, you know better that it's just a bad feeling.
Yeah, and you've seen and heard from enough people.
I'm like, Connie, girl.
That's what confused me too.
Yeah.
I was like, you were down with all this.
Uh-huh.
Now you're like, this shit isn't real.
Yeah.
I think that it got too real for her. And so she's got to try to...
Deny. Yeah.
But he pieces it all together, all the events, saying that it all leads to the chemical plant, which is on the Ohio River. In real life, somebody just called him on the phone, probably Mr. Apple, and he said, the plant's going to explode on the Ohio River. Like, fucking just told him.
All right.
Yeah. But he tells her that the governor is going to be there, and he remembers that he was on his way to interview him, which is how he ended up in Point Pleasant to begin with. He whispers, he was right. She realizes that he saw a leak and storms off annoyed.
Just telling on himself.
Yeah. But he stops her, saying that he didn't want to worry her, but Leek confirmed that the messages are real. He asks her to leave with him and touches her face lovingly. She pulls away, saying that she's not going to live her life based on the messages of Indrid Cold. He tells her that he has to get to Charleston, but to please get herself reassigned so she's nowhere near the plant or the Ohio River. She compares his newfound belief and behavior to Gordon, and he fucking grabs her forcefully by the shoulders and tells her that he is not Gordon.
That is a federal offense. That's what I would have said.
Yeah, it's not a good look at the very least.
Yeah, no.
But she says that she has to get to work and that they can talk about it later. We then see John at the hotel bar in Charleston looking very worried and kind of embarrassed. He flashes back to a meeting he apparently had with Governor McCollum at the airport. McCollum, played by Murphy Dunn, is happy to see him, but John tells him that he needs to speak with him urgently. He says it's the tour of the plant. He can't go through with it. He frantically begs him to cancel the tour or shut the plant down. Then he just blurts out, "The plant's gonna blow up when you're in there."
We've talked about this before on the show. Most recently, I think, in the episode on The Omen.
Yes.
Right.
Delivery. Delivery is really key.
It's so important.
Could have been better.
Yeah. And the thing is that this shows his credibility because McCollum asks if the cops are doing anything about it.
Right.
So he's like, I know you're acting fucking weird, but I believe you.
Yeah.
But then an aide asks if it's a bomb threat, and John's like, I didn't say that.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is a source told me, and you have to believe me. McCollum's like, you're messing up here, John.
Yeah.
Now you're doing too much.
And we see him get into a car, and he says, get me Cyrus bills at the post. He's getting his ass fired.
Yeah, well, I'm like, the Mothman is not going to rest until John gets fired.
I guess
this seems
that
calculated.
was the whole point.
Yeah.
So for a little bit when they were doing this, I was like, so is this really happening, or is he imagining this going down, or...
No, he's remembering.
No, I know,
Yeah.
but
the way it's shot, it almost feels like he's like, well, if I would
This
have
is
gone.
what's gonna.
Yeah.
But I think he did actually go. It's just a weird way of doing it out of sequence.
Yeah.
But I think he did go, and he made an absolute fool of himself.
Yeah. And now he's fired.
And now he's fired. But he just watches as the motorcade pulls away, and we come back to present day after that absolute cringe fest. The news on television tells of Governor McCollum's successful review of the chemical plant, even showing him congratulating the workers of the plant.
Really, Mothman?
He's like, "Wait, I never
You
said."
have me out here looking fucking crazy.
Oh.
I'm never talking to you again.
I never said a chemical plant.
I'm never talking to you again.
Everything went off without a hitch, and John looks mad as a hatter. Just then, an employee brings John an envelope saying he has a message. He opens it, and it reads, "Mary will call, Georgetown, Friday, noon." He puts it away pensively. In the next scene, Connie arrives at the motel, and we find John packing all his shit up. He says he's headed back to Washington. He assures her it has nothing to do with what happened earlier between them. It's just because he got a message to be there at noon on Friday. She asks if he realizes what's happening to him, and he's like, "See ya."
Yeah.
Just leaves. But we see him arrive back in Washington and his house in Georgetown. We get flashes of his memories of Mary as he falls into bed. Connie wraps Christmas presents alone in her house as John stares into a lit closet before shutting the lights off. Was that the banging closet or?
Did he move in?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Neither do I.
That's the only reason to stare longingly at a closet.
I guess.
I mean, unless you just really like the clothes in there.
He's like, remember when we made that realtor uncomfortable?
But the next day, it's 11:56, and John waits by the phone with a photo of Mary. The phone rings, and it's Connie. She says she wants to chat for 10 or 15 minutes.
Saboteur! I know what you're doing.
Yeah.
I honestly love that she's doing this.
Yeah. She's like, no, it's cool. Like, we're just talking.
Yeah, just talking. Just two people talking. Two people deeply in love talking. But he asks if he can call her back, and she says he can't. She's booked him a flight that leaves in a couple hours, and if he leaves now, he can make it. He says he can't go, but she reminds him that it's Christmas Eve and he shouldn't be alone. He reiterates that he can't, and she disagrees. He tells her that when Mary got sick, he couldn't help thinking it wasn't real and that he could stop it. She tells him no one can stop it. Terrible things are going to happen. People we love will die, and no matter what Indrid Cold says, there's nothing they can do about it. John says it's 2 years to the day, and that he said Mary was going to call. Connie says that whoever calls may sound like her, but it's not going to be her. She doesn't know what happens after you die, but she guarantees that Mary is nowhere near Indrid Cold. I don't know why, but when she said that, like, I was up late at night doing this, but that gave me goosebumps. I don't know why. But John asks, what if it is her? Connie says that Mary is dead, and the only question is how he wants to remember her. He crumbles into sobs, saying that he truly misses Mary. Connie says she knows, but he can miss her in Point Pleasant, and he can do it so much easier because he won't be alone. She tells him to do what he needs to do, but in Point Pleasant, they'll have dinner at 6 p.m. and open presents at 8, and she hopes that she'll see him soon. She says goodbye and gets off the phone. It almost brings a tear to your eye.
I know. I love this whole part because she's being so sweet and like she's right.
Yeah.
And Laura Linney's voice is just so like calm. Like, I don't know. The whole thing is just.
It might be the most soothing voice ever.
The whole thing is is beautiful. And then him like breaking down and being really vulnerable in the moment. And she's like, look, I get it. And that grief is what's making you think that you have to do this, but you don't have to do it.
And at no point does she belittle him.
No. And she's like, yeah, somebody might even call.
Yeah, but it's not going to be her.
Yeah, I feel like the movie loses me for a little bit in the middle, but by the time we get back here, I'm like, no, I do love this movie.
But at exactly noon, the phone rings again. John fights himself from answering it, actually reaching for it, but then he just tears it out of the wall at the last second. He puts his coat on, but the phone continues to ring. He leaves the house and the phone stops ringing. We watch as the red Mothman silhouette disappears from Mary's eye in the photo, and we fade to black.
Mothman's not going to like that.
No. But good for you.
Yeah.
Like, good job.
The way that the movie handles it, it's almost like, oh, he didn't answer the call? Well, I'm going to go fuck shit up.
Yeah.
But it's these odd things that really aren't connected.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know.
And so he was on board the Mary.
The Mary.
But because, I mean, you see him leave her eye.
But like just the symbolism is in that one picture.
I guess.
Like, I don't know. I'm confused.
As he leaves, he's like, all right, let's try something else.
This didn't work. But why John? Like,
and that's the real question of it.
Yeah.
And I don't have an answer.
Why are you so obsessed with me?
But we fade back in to find John on the road heading back to Point Pleasant as uplifting music plays. He reaches the Silver Bridge, and it is bumper-to-bumper traffic. Cars are honking at each other, which is legitimately some clown shit. Like, I can't move.
I know. Nobody can move.
I don't understand why people do that. But we see, you should have your license revoked. But we see CJ sitting in his car annoyed at the traffic, and also a shot of Holly at the bridal shop getting fitted for her wedding dress. So I guess there's the payoff.
Yeah.
Connie sits in her cruiser annoyed at the traffic as well, and the clock hits 6, which, as you recall, is dinner time.
Yeah.
Aw, she's late.
John gets out of his car and asks Man on Bridge, played by Sam Nicotero, what the deal is.
Nicotero?
Yeah, I know. I should have looked that up.
You should have.
So in that 5-second break, I looked it up, and Sam Nicotero is the uncle of Greg Nicotero.
I knew it. I love that I just assumed there's only one Nicotero family.
And you're right. But he says that it's a problem with the traffic lights, so John heads back to his car. Connie switches on her lights and gets out of her vehicle as well. But suddenly, the camera presses in on John, who stops dead in his tracks. He hears Indrid Cold's voice in his ear again. Great tragedy on the river Ohio. And in a neat shot, we focus in on the chemical plant before pulling back over the Ohio River to reveal the silver bridge full of traffic, and John whispers, "My God."
Mm-hmm.
I like how they showed how close it was.
Yeah, I know. Like, you were right there, dude.
Yeah.
So close.
You lost your career, man,
Oh,
by
shit,
some
yeah.
feet.
Hope it was worth it, but I do want to point out that according to the production notes, the bridge is a combo of CGI and practical effects.
Cool.
The actual model of the bridge they used for a lot of the wide shots
Right.
was 128 feet long and 28 feet high.
Damn.
Holy shit.
It was 1/6 scale, but they also filmed practically with vehicles falling into the river.
Shit.
Jeez.
I saw some pictures from the paper in Pittsburgh that showed cars in the river during the filming.
Yeah.
I'm like, they actually did that shit?
That's crazy.
It's nuts. But with flashes of the hospital and the water below, John runs across the bridge, warning motorists still inside their vehicles. Connie begins to notice the steel of the bridge creaking and moving, and this is when John finds CJ on the bridge, banging on his window and telling him he needs to get off now. CJ looks up, and we see two lights at the top of the bridge turn from white to a glowing red. A cable breaks loose and swings right into his windshield, killing him and lifting his car off the front tires.
Mothman really does not like that kid.
No, it's funny to me because it's like they put in the wedding thing just so we'd be sad.
Yeah.
Like otherwise,
And she's in her dress right now.
as we speak.
But I just feel like that was such a gruesome. I know he's not the only one that dies. I
No.
know, sorry, spoiler alert. But his way was just so gruesome.
It
like
was pretty
was.
cool.
more than anybody. More than it was some Final Destination
Yeah.
shit.
That's exactly
honestly.
what I was going to say. It feels just like it.
He was like, I was not done.
No.
Like I wasn't done.
It's like you should have taken the call, John.
Yeah.
But this lack of structural integrity sends a wave across the bridge, and Connie snaps into action, telling everyone to get off, which they attempt to do as the bridge begins to break apart. People run, cars crash into each other, and slabs of concrete and asphalt fall into the river below. Connie calls for backup inside her cruiser while somehow, through the madness, John hears a little girl scream and saves her whole ass family.
Well,
Yeah.
John, we've already talked about he's that guy.
Fair?
He
He's like, I'm Richard Gere.
Yeah.
yeah, duh. Of course, I'm going to save that little girl and her family. This is a literal fucking nightmare.
Absolutely.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
just watching it honestly gives me anxiety, and it's a lot. Like horrifying.
I have a fear of being robbed in a drive-through because I can't pull back or go forward, but I feel like this is somehow worse.
Oh no! Please, nobody take that as an idea.
Yeah. Oh, fuck.
Edit it out. Cut it out. Cut it out.
But as the family runs to safety, the bridge begins to fully collapse. People scream as their cars slide off the edge of the damaged railing and crash into the water. John notices Connie's lights, but before he can rush over to her, a beam comes down and smashes into the hood of her car. Cables snap and sparks fly as her section of the bridge collapses into the water. John watches as her cruiser slides into the river, with Connie unconscious inside. John, after somehow hearing Connie whisper his name, fucking dives into the glass and debris-filled water.
And Mothman really doesn't want him to have a girlfriend or
No.
wife or nothing.
Connie's like, I'm gonna go drown and freeze to death, and John's like, without me.
Yeah.
But I.
Like, no, but seriously.
I'm like, no, but seriously, do you? So is Mothman just watching this with Mr. Burns' hands the whole
Yeah.
time?
I don't... Mr. Burns' wings?
He was Burns' wings the whole
I
time.
don't know. I feel like it's just strange that he's seeming to be targeting him specifically.
Yes.
But he's giving him, like, notice and shit. He's, like, giving him Connie's voice in his ear and stuff.
That's what I'm saying. It's so fucking confusing.
But he swims deep through the wreckage of the bridge to find Connie's car. Unable to open the door, he swims through the back window and reaches her in the front seat, which is filling with water, but not full yet, telling her to wake up. I don't know how the car can be missing a back window, but the car is still filling up.
She's fine.
Yeah, don't worry about it.
Yeah. And that was a long time he held his breath
was.
going through all that. I was like,
He's
damn.
that guy.
See, I need to remember that.
Yeah.
You guys keep forgetting.
But he cradles her, taking her back underwater and swimming to the surface.
Do you guys think they were really in the water? Did you not see how hilarious that looked?
Was it clearly not them?
No, it was clearly CGI.
Oh.
Like it's like a square around them. And
yeah.
Dude, I'll pull it up right
Please
fucking now.
do.
I was laughing.
I was too busy typing. I was like, good for them. I'm so happy they're safe.
No, it looked hilarious.
I can't wait. But the camera rises above the tragedy and we see the full scope of the collapse with lights of several vehicles beaming underneath the surface of the river. We fade to black. When we fade back in, first responders fill the scene checking in on survivors, pulling cars out of the water, and unfortunately collecting the dead. John catches up with Connie, who sits in the back of an ambulance. She says that she didn't know if she was dreaming when she saw him, but he's actually here. He says he left DC right after she called and is like, you did call me, right? Because shit's been crazy.
Yeah.
But she does say that she called. The fire chief tells John that the accident is terrible, but it could have been worse. 36 people have died. After the chief leaves, John and Connie repeat the number, 36. It hits Connie. Wake up, number 37.
Ah!
John stares back at the bridge, repeating, wake up. He then sits next to Connie and she rests her head on his shoulder. Through whispers and building alternative music, we pull back from the scene filled with Christmas lights and emergency vehicles. It blurs and we get on-screen text reading, the ultimate cause of the collapse of the Silver Bridge was never determined. Although sightings have continued around the world, Mothman was never seen in Point Pleasant again. We fade to black and the credits roll.
Mothman's like, my work is done here. So,
But you didn't do anything.
yeah. So he's just, was it pettiness? Like what? What is the film telling us? Like, what are we supposed to walk away feeling?
I think he was supposed to be like the harbinger. Like he's warning these people.
But he's doing a horrible job.
He's new at it.
He was on cave drawings.
Well, that's where they fucked up. All right. That's well, that could be like a blink of an eye to them.
Yeah.
Sure. Also, it was 46 people. Why did they change that?
I read in USA Today that they changed it because the studio said 46 was too many people to have died.
But that's who really died.
It's a true fucking story. I don't know. But
oh man,
Pellington picked the number 36 because I guess that was his dad's football number.
All right, that's cute.
And so I mean, it makes you feel a little bit better.
So the studio's like, now 36.
Yeah, 36.
Like,
That's
I don't.
Totally fine.
It's so fucking weird.
I do also want to say that it was determined how that bridge collapsed in real life.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
And it was a failure of the I-beams.
Oh shit.
It led to, I guess, a bunch of more safety regulations regarding bridges, and I don't even think they have I-beam bridges anymore because of shit like this.
Well, good. Maybe it was a failure of the M beam.
Oh my god.
The Mothman.
The double M beam.
Uh-huh.
Now, I also want to say that they found this out before Keel wrote his book.
He's like,
He's like, no, it's a fucking Mothman. He wasn't even in he wasn't even in Point Pleasant when this happened.
So he wasn't on the bridge saving little girls from their cars?
No, and he did not jump into the water or anything. He was
well, damn.
He was sitting in his apartment because he was told that during LBJ's Christmas lighting ceremony, all the power basically on the eastern seaboard was going to go out. He said that one of the calls, possibly Mr. Apple.
It was.
Yeah, he told him that there was going to be a massive blackout in the United States. And so he was waiting for that to happen. And when it didn't happen, news came in about the bridge collapse. And he's like, damn you, Mothman!
Again, what the fuck?
Dude, I don't know. Long story short.
This is slander.
I do not know, and I don't appreciate it. But I have to ask the customary question, what did you guys think of the Mothman Prophecies?
It's a confused little film at times.
Very fair.
But the beginning and the end pulls it out for me, I guess. The wake up number 37 thing, I can remember as, basically a kid watching that and being like, what the fuck? Like, it was like, because when she says it, you're like, ooh, that's creepy. And then, the payoff at the end, it fucking shattered my existence. So I'm always going to love this movie for that.
Yeah.
The cast is great. My issue, again, lies with Mothman motivation.
Very fair.
And things getting muddled later on because, we're introducing ghosts and, it's just a lot. I feel like if it had maybe like a more focused story, and I would like to see maybe, I mean, because this town in real life celebrates
The Mothman.
Right.
Mothman. Like that's their whole thing. So maybe like he was a good guy after all. You know, kind of I mean, I don't know. Maybe that's just what I want.
Well, one of the things left out of his book is that right before the bridge collapsed, eyewitnesses said that they saw a Mothman on the bridge. And for some reason, that was left out of the book and the movie.
So
Yeah,
was he
I
on the
know.
bridge trying to scare people away, or was he on the bridge fucking with the eye?
I was going to say, he's got a screwdriver. They're like, what's the fucking... No, I would hope that he was trying to warn people. I think Mothman's a great guy.
We need I too in my heart, but that is not what this film reflects, and I would just
No.
appreciate clarification.
I did like this movie, but god damn, it's confusing. There's not enough Mothman.
No.
Did you say Mothman?
Either one, man or men.
John Mothman.
There's not enough.
Yeah. Watching it for the show really did kind of, I guess, open too many things that I didn't pay attention to before.
Yeah.
And it is confusing at times, but it is a fun movie. It's a fun little ride. But I think that too. I think not enough Mothman. And the story not being like everything has to do with the Mothman. Like that he's making everything bad. Is he like a deity? Is he
Yeah.
like what is? I don't. Does
Sure.
he live in this like realm, or does he like travel so fast that you can't see him? That he's like I don't. What are you telling us?
These are all great questions.
Yeah.
I think that the thing with the Mothman Prophecies, the book, is that it's even more disjointed than this.
Right.
And so the way that they were able to, I guess, fix...
They did the best they could.
Yeah.
They're like, we tried. The after the end credits, it's just the director shrugging.
Yeah.
No, but I think that they did a decent job compared to what that was. And I like the idea of it all being incorporated into the Mothman rather than being like 50 different things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's still like 50 things. It's a lot of shit
Yeah.
that I don't know completely, you know? But the thing is, that's weird, is I really like this movie.
Yeah, that's
No,
the thing.
yeah.
And I'll watch it like a ton, but I accept that it is far from perfect.
Yeah, for
Oh
sure.
yeah.
But I guess that can lead us into ratings. On the positive side, for me, the strongest point is the performances.
Definitely.
You love to see Richard Gere and Laura Linney together, and they just, I don't know, there's a chemistry there that is perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think some of the moments of cinematography, although some of them, they kind of get a little fucking crazy.
It's a mixed bag.
Also, I mean, have to give it some kind of uptick simply for the inclusion of the Mothman at all. I love the Mothman.
We're
Yeah.
just glad he showed up.
Yeah. But on the negative side, it is bloated in a weird way and a little muddled and confusing. Also, I really, really would prefer that this was taking place during the time period that the Silver Bridge actually collapsed.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't have been that hard to do.
Yeah.
You just take out, like one cell phone scene?
Yeah.
Like, I don't understand. But again, what does it mean? I love ambiguity.
Yeah, but this is like,
This is
there's
some-
ambiguity and then there's this.
Now, this film, I have to say, is one of the hardest I've ever scored.
Yeah.
It's difficult.
Because I don't know what to do. Honestly, I had a number in mind, and so I think I'm just going to roll with it.
All right.
Out of 10 beaming red eyes, I am going to give the Mothman Prophecies 7 beaming red eyes out of 10. I was almost going to give it a 6.5, but first of all, I had a fucking blasty
Yeah.
blast
Yeah.
talking about it today, but also there's just something nostalgic about this film that pushes it above that 6.5 for me.
Yeah.
And I can very, very easily admit to everyone here and everyone listening that it probably does not deserve
Yeah.
the 7, but I'm going to give it to it anyway. So there we are, Mothman forever. And I will now open the floor to you.
I know we already went through everything about it and how confusing and whatnot, and I do like this movie as well.
Mm-hmm.
It is watching it now. I will say that I do see it for the I guess clusterfuck of whatever's happening in there. I do wish there was more Mothman, like I know we've said for the 1,000th time.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe a little more actual lore about the Mothman,
Yeah.
not some made up shit. but it is good. The movie's good. I know we say this with a lot of movies. This is also one. If you've never seen it, watch it.
Yeah.
But it is a good movie. It's confusing.
Yeah.
Mothman does get a bad rap in this movie.
Yeah.
I still, it was their relationship, Connie and John. We never seen like we're
It's
just I
just
was
a
like,
slow build.
It's implied.
But I mean, I'm there kind of with you too. You know what I mean? So on a scale of 1 to 10, beaming red eyes, I'm gonna give the Mothman Prophecies a 7.5.
Wow.
I like the movie and I do see the problems with it, but like you said, I watched it quite a few times when I was younger.
Mm-hmm.
Watching it for the show, you do see, you know what I mean, the cracks and the chunks missing out the pavement, but
The pavement.
It's the bridge.
Yeah.
You see the missing I-beam.
But it's a good movie and the Mothman is in it. So, I mean, you can't go wrong.
Yeah, definitely credit for the Mothman.
Yeah.
But also, like, it hurts because there's not enough Mothman.
No. But could there ever have been enough Mothman?
No, but there could have been more.
Should Richard Gere have played the Mothman?
Yes.
Yeah, if he was just in a
He's-
Mothman costume,
Yeah,
the
he's
whole
that
time,
guy.
yeah.
He's that guy trying to figure it out. This was difficult too to score because I've always loved this movie.
Yeah.
And I'm going into it, I'm like, oh, that's an 8.5.
Yeah.
Easy. I fucking love Mothman Prophecies. But really going in and watching it and seeing like it is very muddled.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I'll agree with clusterfuck,
Yeah.
like you said.
Well, you can see why when this came out, if people didn't like it,
Yeah.
you can see why.
Totally
Yeah.
understand.
The motivations of Mothman really are unclear, as are the origins, as are the intentions, as are the abilities of the Mothman.
Oh, he can do everything.
Because he can do
Yeah.
anything and everything. And again, I feel like it would have been nice to see that harbinger. And maybe that's what they were trying to say. That's not what I walked away with.
No.
He seemed messy and bored, and John was, I'm a fuck with this dude.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, again, it goes down for me to his motivation. And like you said, undeserved payoff with him and Connie because, okay.
But I think those kids are going to make it.
For sure, definitely. But I'll say the middle hurts it for me too. I like the inclusion of Leek and his expertise and everything, but it really doesn't give anything. Like, it doesn't add anything.
No.
It really doesn't change anything
It
either.
changes nothing because it's not like John took his advice, or it's not like you could have
know-
cut all of that
You know
out.
what would have helped is if he had said that he got that message from the Mothman about the
Right.
Ohio River.
Yeah,
Because then-
anything to make a connection.
He's like, where are you hearing that? Point Pleasant. He's like, fuck.
Yeah,
He's right. But no.
but yeah, it was a decidedly different experience going into it this time. But I will add a little bit for nostalgia's sake. So on a scale of 1 to 10, beaming red eyes,
Indeed.
I'll also give it a 7.5 out of 10.
Wow.
And again, I know that that's generous. I know
Yeah,
that your
no,
7 is
yeah.
generous.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's just one of those movies where I'm like, fuck yeah. I don't know why.
Yeah.
I don't know why I ride so hard for it, but I do.
I watched it twice in one day
God damn.
for this to get my script in order, and I still love it.
Yeah. That's the thing is, and you see even with the flaws.
Yes.
It's like, no, I'm still riding with it.
I think some movies are just cozy.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
fair.
And then it's even better if you're being cradled in the wings of the Mothman.
What more could anyone ask for?
Well, that's all from us at Pod Mortem. What would you rate the Mothman Prophecies, and what should we watch next? Let us know on Twitter at the Pod Mortem. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram and like us on Facebook. Be sure to follow each of us on Twitter at TravisMWH, at Blood and Smoke, and at RealStreeter84. Please consider pledging to our Patreon and stay tuned until after the music for a special thank you to our Wendigo Getter patrons. And remember, while seeing is believing, sometimes it's your perception that forms your reality. Until next time. Thank you for staying tuned. We want to give a special thank you to all of our Wendigo Getter patrons.
Hey.
Hey.
Thanks for joining for a Mother episode.
Oh my God. I've been fighting the whole time doing Shane's Mothman impression.
Yeah, if y'all have not seen the BuzzFeed Unsolved
Please do.
Mothman, it's so good.
I had to do it. Special thank you to Chris Ontiveros, Kristen Lofton, Megan Martinez, Kimberly Bass, Melanie Van Houston, Sophie Hodson, Anthony Jerome M., Jordan Nash, Kent Morton, Guy 54, Lala Thomas, Travis and Nisa Hunter, Miguel Myers ATX, Mandy, Jennifer Perez, Pierre Lombard, Allison O'Neill, Carissa, TJ Bronson, Gabrielle Trevino, Spooky Mom, Andy Teague, Applin Ontiveros, Karima Rhodes, Antonio Huerta, Kimberly Kleindienst, Will Brown, Linda, Sydney Smith, Osvaldo Soto, Jonathan Booth, Bobby Holmes, Donna Eason, JD Rizak, Molly Gerhardt, Armand Spasto, Aaron Aguirre, Eggy, William Berry, Brittany, Charity Oxner, Amanda Six, Mandy Rainwater, and Garrett Rogers. Thank you all so much.
Hey.
Thank you.
We appreciate all your support, and we want you all to know that you are just mothnificent.
All right.
Is that too far?
You're as sweet as Mothman's ass.
He's got them cakes. Until next time.